Very warm welcome, ladies and gentlemen. 2018 IPA Pool World Championships live from the Cedar Court Hotel here in Bradford. Day one proper of the competition is upon us. The best 64 players in the world competing here at the Cedar Court Hotel in Bradford. Across a multitude of tables, as you can see, we will be focusing on one though, and we are going to see some incredible action throughout the day. Stephen Jameson here with you for the day here, and I'm delighted to say it, joined by Simon Webb. Now, Simon, we can see your name on here. Are you excited to be here?
I'm very excited. Can't wait to get out in the arena and play myself, but looking forward to this match first. Yeah,
of course. And what can we look forward to? We've got the draw in front of us here, page 1 of 2. Lot to come over the course of the first round, of course. Any standout ties for you?
Well, the match we've got on for you this morning is the standout tie of the round. Looking at Mark Boyle and Simon Ward. Looking down the draw, we've got our top of the draw there, we've got our #1 seed, Mark Farnsworth. At the bottom of the draw, Clint Jansen's the man in form, one of the red-hot favourites for this event. So yeah, there's some absolute cracking matchups, stars all over the place, so yeah, very exciting.
And here comes page #2 of the draw. Plenty to come, as we mentioned, as we whittle these guys down over the course of the next 3 days. What catches your eye here, Simon?
Craig Marsh, world champion. How's he going to go about defending his title? Be very exciting to see him play later on. Ronan McCarthy's the #2 seed for the event. He's been in great form himself as well. So Gareth Hibbert, Ryan Clark, that's a very interesting matchup. Gareth Hibbert's was the winner 2 years ago and the current seniors champion. Fantastic player. So yeah, lots of great names and great matchups.
Should be a really good day. The first match, as Simon mentioned, should be a belter. Mark Boyle versus Simon Ward. Now, bit of a strange draw this, obviously, but we're really looking forward to this one. It's a very unique game in this first round.
It is. Mark Boyle is regarded as one of the best players currently around, but unfortunately he's a qualifier. His first season on the tour was last year. And because of that, he's an amateur for this event, which means he's had to go through the process of qualifying, which he has done. But because of that, it's a random draw. He's been drawn against Simon, who is one of the top seeds. I think he's in the top 8 seed, regular winner on the IPA tour. So these two are two of the top 3 or 4 favourites for the title, and they've been drawn in the first round. So absolutely incredible.
I'm sure that's happened. Delighted with that draw.
Yeah, yeah. I think I spoke to Mark last night, and he was sort of expecting that he would, because he's a qualifier, there's a good chance he was going to have a blockbuster match and a tough match, and that's as it's panned out. But for Simon, this is as bad as it could have been.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting competition for Mark in particular, because he really can't control who he's going to play. He's got no idea. He has to just whittle his way through the draw and hope for the best. And of course, he's got that ability to really fancy himself against anyone. Yeah,
no, he starts this tournament, I believe, as the second favourite. Mark Farnsworth, the #1 seed, is the favourite. But Mark he won twice on the tour last year and won an amateur event. But because of only being his first season on tour, it creates this interesting dynamic that he's the amateur, he's the qualifier, but he starts as arguably the favourite for this match. But it's a very much a 50-50, but a blockbuster for a last 64.
I think I just asked for the balls to be re-racked there, just to make sure everything was a-okay for him.
Yeah, so this is Mark Boyle is the man in screen now.
So the first break of the day here in Bradford. We had one down there.
1 free shot, 1 visitor.
Down. Might have even been the white.
Yeah, it's a disaster for Mark to start with.
It was.
Yeah, disaster for Mark there. Going in off on the break. He gives Simon more options now. He's got 1 free visit here to develop the balls to his liking, to then try and go for a clearance to win the frame. So he looks like his intention is to go for the reds here. He's just developed the one bad red he had on the side rail. bumped it out into open play. So now all the reds go. Every red's got a pocket, and he's now going to try and work his way through and clear up the reds here.
Yeah, these players will play several shots ahead. In fact, even the full 7 many a time.
Yeah, Simon will already have a plan of how he's going to go about every ball on this table. He'll be thinking about the last ball to get onto the black. He'll be, most players will see the finishes all the way through, but with the flexibility to change as you run out of position. But yeah, he's definitely got a plan for everything here.
So slightly awkward queuing for this one. And he navigates that fairly comfortably. To Simon.
Yeah, I believe his plan will be to try and clear the 2 reds at the top of the table next, and then come down for the 3 at the bottom.
They are set up very, very nicely for Simon here.
Yeah, the only one that's a slight issue is the red next to the black. But the plan will be for him, I think, to try and get on that after this. So he's going to pop the one over the pocket now, and he'll be looking to try and get onto the red next to the black, and he can play that red onto the one over the pocket.
Just about to say, yeah, he's got the safety net really of that ball over the pocket. A little bit more wiggle room for Simon here.
Just needs a little flick here. No, disaster.
He'll be frustrated with that, Simon. It was an easy enough pot, but the key to that was all in the movement of the white, and he just didn't quite get it right.
Yeah, you can see he was just trying to get another inch or so to the right of where he is now, and he's actually snookered himself.
30 seconds.
See there, the 30 seconds ticks down. These players
oh wow.
all operating a 60-second shot clock. And you mentioned he was snookered. These players are all phenomenally talented, and sometimes there's just a way out.
Yeah, it's incredible how they can get themselves out of problems. Completely snookered. He did, that wasn't a fluke. He was very much trying to make this in the corner exactly as it's panned out.
Well, he'll try and tell you that he played for that shot in the first instance. We'll tell you he absolutely didn't, but a brilliant way around it. He's now given himself a slightly awkward queuing angle for the one over the pocket, but that's dispatched pretty easily. And now he just has fairly straight, simple red into the middle and the black for the first frame of the match. And that is dispatched without much issue at all for Simon Ward. First frame of the day here on Free Sports goes to Simon Ward, and goodness me, we all thought we were in for a slightly longer frame when he snooked himself there, but he found a route out.
Yeah, and the thing I like about that is there was no frustration. He was just, I've made a mistake. He's just, right, what can I do about it? And he's come up with a brilliant shot. And what a way to start this tournament.
Well, if we see plenty more shots like that, then we're in for a very exciting few days here on Free Sports. No doubt about that one.
Second frame, Simon Ward's break.
And of course, it is now Simon's break, which is a nice advantage. It just compounds the misfortune really for Mark at the start of the last one in going in off the break.
Very good break from Simon there. He's made a ball, retains control of the table.
Here is the slow-mo of the break. Some red going in there in the bottom right as we look at it. So control of the table does belong to Simon Ward.
You can see Simon again. He's doing the same as the first frame. He's just trying to work out the way through the whole finish, identifying his problem areas.
He's going to take the yellows. So perhaps a little bit more work than he maybe needed to, but
I think if he'd gone for reds, he would have had more of a problem solving the black. By taking yellows, he'll clear the pocket for the top left for the black, which I think is the reason he's going yellows. He could, what he might do as well is he might look to use one of those yellows to the top corner to develop the black as well, just to make it easier.
He's left himself a nice angle on this yellow down the side cushion to get himself over to the other side of the table. And at this point, it's looking quite nice for Simon Ward here. Can use the natural angle of this yellow to get himself across to the side of the table he wants to be. Play nice and slowly. But did have to focus on the pot, and it doesn't drop for Simon Ward, so Boyle comes to the table.
Yeah, just a slightly loose positional shot on the previous shot made that pot harder than it needed to be. It was a tricky pot, just flicked the near jaw and didn't fall.
Mark here will be very relieved just to get his hand down at the table. His only shot of the game so far was a fairly disastrous break, and now he can do what he does best.
Yeah, Mark's got two problem reds and a problem black to solve. You can see here we've got the reds here at the top end of the table are causing the most problems for him. Which is why he's gone straight after them. You want to attack your problem areas as early as possible. The next big problem, after that positional shot, is going to allow him to clear these two reds now, but the black is now going to cause a real problem for him. His options for the black are either to try and play on it as a double. He can would be looking to double that into the middle pocket, or try and move it, but there's no reds near it and there's no natural angles to move the black. So it's a very, very tricky ball to solve.
30 seconds.
Nice and tight pot into the middle pocket there, just past the second red. You can see there the black on the opposite side of the table, which does make it difficult.
You can see where he was just pointing his cue now. He's already lining up the black. So he's pointed his cue where he wants to be in 3 shots time. He's working out exactly how to get on that black and make the double. It's going to be tricky for him to get back there, because he's got to pop this, come back down the table and then get back up, and he hasn't got a huge margin of error to get on that black nicely for the double.
That red is safely dispatched.
He's got just enough angle on this red, because when he pops this red down the rail, he needs to get the white a bit more into open play. He needs to just get the white out somewhere near that circle, on and off the cushion. He may look to go a fraction further, but he needs a little bit of angle on this next red to be able to get back up the table for the final ball.
He's playing it with a little bit of run side to get himself closer to the ball.
Yeah, I think he wanted, what he was trying to do was get onto the bottom rail. I thought he might bump out to the middle of the table so that he could pot it thin and control the white up the table. But he's now... He now needs to get the white somewhere near where he was looking before.
That's a beautiful shot. It's going to be very, very difficult cueing though. He's a little bit unlucky there. Mark Boyle. I think a lovely idea, just gives himself a really, really difficult cue here.
Yeah, I don't believe he's played to get on this ball in this pocket. I think he probably has played on the double. He's just not played a particularly great positional shot. The double would have been an easier shot than this pot, and this pot's been the tariff on this pot's been ramped up because of the awkward cueing.
30 seconds.
It's an incredibly tough shot, this.
Right over the top of that yellow. This for the second frame.
No.
And it's just going to stay out for Mark Boyle. Didn't quite get the drop. And now Simon Ward has a potential reprieve here. All these yellows grouped at the top end of the table. The black is a gimme at this stage.
Yeah, Simon should make fairly light work of this now. No problems. Fairly routine for a player of Simon's level.
Well, this is just training session stuff really for Simon. All yellows gathered together. Rests himself nicely on the cushion as well. Should be 2 frames to nothing here for Simon Ward from this position.
Yeah, no mistakes here. As simple as it can be.
Takes 2 for 1 on that shot.
Just to save time.
And there goes the black for Simon Ward. 2-zip to the Welshman. Great start for Simon Ward. Boyle offered a route back into that game.
Yeah, Mark had a chance there to steal a frame away.
And here is Mark's recent record. As you mentioned, came into this event as a qualifier, but he has been a very impressive member of the tour on his first year.
Yeah, we're showing you his recent results, which are May through to October. Just before May, earlier part of the year, he won the first 2 open events, the Welsh Open and the English Open, as well as winning an amateur event as well. He did the double in the English Open. He did the English Open and English Amateur, so he started last year in absolute red-hot fashion.
And he'll be hoping this break is a touch better than his last. But again, he goes in off, would you believe it? Second break in a row for Mark Boyle that the white has gone down. And a little grimace on the face of Mark, and it's no surprise. Let's take a look at this one again. It's through them with great power, but straight into the side pocket.
Yeah, it's very, very unfortunate when that happens, because you can see how close he was to cannoning other balls. He probably got into the break a fraction more than he wanted to. He's looking, you know, he doesn't want to go near that middle pocket, but normally he'd get the white cannon out the way anyway. So Simon gets a free shot again to develop if he needs to, and then go for the finish. Normally at this standard, if your opponent pots the white off the break, there's a very high chance that you lose the frame off it. These guys are so good. If they can open up, if they've got one problem area, they can open up with their free shot, and then they go about the finish.
Mark will know that, and to give 2 opportunities of that nature to Simon is a very generous gift when Simon doesn't particularly need any invitation.
No, not at all. The interesting one here, that he's potted the yellow to start with his free shot, but the colours haven't been assigned. He just potted that yellow to clear it out of the way. He was always going reds because the reds are near the black at the top of the table. So take that yellow, clear it out of the way, clear the reds at the bottom end of the table, and then go back up for the final 2 and the black at the top.
Black at the top of the table. Doesn't look too handily positioned, but as Simon now is potting reds, he'll leave the one at the top quite nicely for the black.
Yeah, if he can pot the 2 here at the bottom and finish fairly straight on the right-hand red at the top of the table, it's just 3 stun shots to win the frame. If he'd gone yellows, that black would have been a real problem. But reds, because their red's near it, it's just a natural pattern for him to get on the black and make it fairly simple for himself. As you can see, he's now straight on the red to the top right, and it's three drop-ins, three stun shots, 3 roll-ins.
Yeah, the easiest timing shots is quite nicely worked out here for Simon Ward. Hasn't really had to play anything too complicated. The pots for a man of his prodigious ability have been fairly straightforward, and Simon Ward is heading into a 3-frame lead. He dispatches the black pretty comfortably. It's been a perfect start for Simon Ward. It's been a disastrous start for Mark Boyle, and the Scotsman here has plenty of work to do. Here is the recent tournament history of Simon Ward.
Yeah, you can see in the last tournament he made the British Open final. He's a regular win on the IPA tour. Had probably his first season in 4 or 5 years without a title last year, and the British Open in October was the closest he came. But you can see down the list there, he's had more quarterfinals, semi-finals. he's a big favourite for any tournament he plays in. He's always one of the big favourites to win.
Leading 3 frames to 0.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's he who is back to the table for this break.
Nice big break from Simon.
And we'll take a look at it again. Really ripped through them, gives himself a lot of options from here.
Making 2 reds and a yellow this time.
Seconds.
Just going to get rid of the yellow. Will he stay on these, do you think, here?
Yeah, yellows are. He's got the 4 yellows to the top left of the table. The worst, the biggest, the hardest yellow from the pot will be the yellow and the black at the bottom of the table. He'll be leaving the yellow and the black at the bottom of the table for his last ball and to get on the black. As long as he gets fairly straight on that yellow down the rail, it's a simple position onto the black. So it's for the three remaining yellows at the top and then down for the yellow by the black. So the key to this clearance will be how does he get on, which angle does he leave on his last ball at the top of the table to get on the yellow on the side rail. It's the only thing that can really go wrong is poor position from the top of the table down to the bottom of the table.
Yeah, Simon Ward with a simple plant shot there, and we have seen him being rather falling victim to his own positional play. We saw that in the very first frame, but we also saw he's got the talent to get out of it as well.
Absolutely. You can see he's taken a few extra seconds on this shot because this is the key to the frame. He needs to get good position on his next yellow to get onto the yellow on the right hand side.
So we'll come back here for the yellow at the top. Does give him an angle to the yellow down the side cushion, but maybe not the easiest shot he'd prefer to leave himself.
He's just got to be careful that he doesn't go too wide and clip the reds or get too near the centre pocket. He wants to be fairly straight on this yellow down the rail. He's going to go close to the middle pocket, but that middle. I'm just checking. You can see him bending down now. That's almost perfect, but if that knuckle of the pocket may be just in the way, this could be very, very unlucky from here.
These are the fine margins that we so often see in this sport. We are talking about millimetres here for Simon Ward. He's just checking just to see if that ball squeezes past the knuckle, and you can see a wry shake of the head. He knows how close that is.
30 seconds.
It's one of those he might not be able to quite tell. It's one of those you could convince yourself that he can see it, go to play it, and then flick the knuckle. And if he can't see it, then he's going to have to just swerve this with a little bit of side. That's a great camera angle to see how tight that is.
It just shows how tight it is. The fact that we've got such a beautiful view of that, and that is nigh on impossible to tell. Looks like he's playing it with a little bit of side to get around the issue should it arise. He does play it. Does he get the pot? Oh, yes, just. Great shot.
Fantastic shot. Absolutely fantastic shot.
That was not easy for Simon Ward, and I just thought after all that the ball wasn't quite going to drop for him, but he did get the angle. The black now should be fairly routine. And it's there. Terrific start for Simon Ward.
Yeah, brilliant first set for Simon.
He moves into a 1-0 lead in sets.
And our first break dish of the tournament.
And imagines that Mark Boyle, well, we talked at the top of the show, Simon, that this was going to be a very close game, 50-50, difficult to call. You even said, well, it was maybe perhaps slight favourite. It has not been that way from the start of this game.
No, you'll tend to see this between two top players. It can be you can have close games, but it also can be that Simon gets the chances. We've seen Mark's only really had one chance at the table, and it's been that was a very tough chance for him.
And the key stat here, of course, is the number of fouls. Those 2 fouls have really, really hurt Mark. Both off breaks, in off, and they've given Simon a route into the frame.
Yeah, you can see off Mark's breaks, he's potted the white both times, and both times Simon's completed it with a reverse dish, and he's had a break dish of his own. So there's only been one frame where Mark's actually got his hand on the table, and that's been down to the quality of Simon's play, but the breaks have not helped him there at all.
They certainly haven't. Well, we will see if Mark can get himself back into this match after the break. And a very warm welcome back to Bradford and to the 2018 IPA Pool World Championships. We've just seen our first set of the competition today, and it went the way of Simon Ward. He leads by a set to 0. Just take a recap of those first set stats. And the story really for Mark Boyle was the 2 fouls that he went in off both of his breaks, let Simon Ward at the table, and Simon took nearly all of his chances.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Even when he potentially threw one away, he found a route out of it with a quite outrageous double shot in the first frame of the match. And it is he who will resume us for set number 2, frame number 1. And the power, but now isn't that an interesting dynamic? Now it's Simon who goes in off. He has a little bit of a look at the table almost to say, well, why are you doing that to me?
Yeah, it's exactly what happened to Mark in the first set, was that he got kicked in off on the first break. It set the tone for the set, and Simon was able to win that one 4-0. Has the tail turned a bit.
Well, really nothing Simon could do about that. Ball wasn't near a pocket until 3 balls carried it in. And Mark just looking to set himself up.
He'll be very frustrated with that shot. He was looking to develop all the reds to make reds easy enough for him to clear, but you can see he's just created this little cluster here on the top there as we look, that's caused a problem. So he's now going to have to work out how to open those up again.
Will he perhaps consider moving tactics and surfing over to the yellows? He's just having a look, I think, to see if those
he's got enough reds near that little cluster. You can see he's going to go straight after trying to move it again. That he'll be able to solve this problem. But he's actually made it worse again. He was hoping to cannon that ball into those 2 just to nudge them open, but he's made it a little bit worse.
I think the outside, the one closest to the inside of the table, might just go. I think that's the shot he's playing here.
Yeah, the fact that goes is actually a big help for him now, because he's now got the balls as he wants them.
It took him a few more shots than he maybe would have liked, but Mark Boyle now is in command of this frame. Ball's in the open, black nice and easy in the middle of the table. Good position here for Mark Boyle to get his first frame on the board. He'll have been frustrated with that first set. Not a huge amount he could have done about it.
He only really had one chance at the table, and it was a tricky one.
Simon did a great job of punishing in that first set. As we were just discussing in the break there off air, Simon, the beauty of the set play is that Mark here, instead of being 4-0 down in a race to 7, has got a long time to get himself back into this. He just has to win the majority of the next 7 frames.
Yeah, that's it. He's forget about that.
Admittedly, that sounds very simple, but it
does sound simple.
But
he needs, instead of worrying about the fact he's lost the first set, he'll just be thinking about the second set. He needs to win. It's a race to 4 in this set. Just needs to win this one, and then it's the game's back on. Set play does create a lot more excitement. There are more swings, and the ability to come back is greater.
Just a simple shot now for the ball in the middle pocket. Leaves himself beautifully on the final red. Doesn't want to be too straight on it, but he does, as we can see there, have the angle he needs to get back up to the middle of the table. And this is as straightforward as you like for Mark Boyle. He had his issues at the start of this frame, but solved the puzzle to put himself on the board. It is 1-0 to the Scotsman in this second set.
Yeah, solved the puzzle's exactly right. He had a problem to solve. He tried to solve it twice and he needed a third go to open it up. But he got there in the end. You can see with these players in the 5 frames we've seen so far, once they get the balls open up as they want them, there's no mistakes. They get the balls open, they see the frame through.
And here we go with the live scores from around the tables here at the Cedar Court Hotel in Bradford. Plenty of games on the go at the moment.
Yeah, we can see the #1 seed has made a nice start. He's 3-0 up in the first set. Mark Farnsworth over Toby Bolt.
Second frame.
Looking down the list, I wouldn't say surprising, but Neil Raybone is one of the favourites for the tournament, and he's 3-1 down in the first set to Lee Ray, but Lee Ray's a fantastic player as well.
Shows that these two are really rattling through as well. All the games started at the same time. We've already played a full set and well underway in our next one, but that is a dry break from Mark Boyle, who really is not having much luck off the break today. A couple of in-offs and then a dry one.
Yeah, the break has such a big impact on the game. When he was winning his titles at the beginning of last year, it seemed every time he broke the balls, he was leaving himself a brilliant opportunity to clear. So far today, he's not had a chance off his own break. He's looking at reds here, but he's got a problem with the little cluster around the black. If he goes reds, he's going to have to solve how to develop that red. If he goes yellows, there are more problem yellows at the bottom of the table. So I think reds is going to be his choice, but it's going to be about that cluster by the black.
He's just trying to get rid of the red by the corner pocket here. This is probably the most difficult setup he's had so far, Simon Ward. He's enjoyed a fairly straightforward path to his 1-set victory so far.
Yeah, I said a minute ago that the reds, apart from that red by the black, wasn't a problem. These two together next to his hand now are a little bit of a problem. Oh, I think the inside one actually goes, so they're not at all. So it's all about that one by the black. He's got a red nearest the right middle, which will give him, it's easy enough for him to get towards that red.
Just a little look, scan of the table.
Yeah, I think this is a fairly tight pot. It does go, obviously, when playing, but you can see there it's not, possibly not the full pocket.
He's left himself a little awkward just in terms of queuing on this one. Pot won't be too difficult, but can he get the position on the next red is one of the concerns.
Yeah, because of the hampered queuing, it's very difficult. He needs to get himself somewhere onto the red over the bottom middle as we look now, which would require him getting up the table a little bit. But because of the hampered queuing, that's very difficult to do.
Just trying to get as much of the middle of the ball as he can. Chops himself into the middle of the table. Maybe not where he ideally would have preferred to be, but perhaps even a chance here to maybe sneak behind this red. And
yeah, I think if he can just, it's a little bit deceptive. I think he can see enough of this that he can pop this to the right centre. I think he'll be looking at just cannoning into the red. If he cannons into the red just at a nice pace, nice gentle pace, he'll be on the red to the left centre. If he goes behind it, then the red to the left centre will be blocking it. So I think he wants just a gentle cannon, just to open that, separate those 3 balls a fraction.
you can see the shot clock ticks down. He's having a really good look at this, Simon Ward. Does play the cannon. Does he get where he needs to be?
He needed that white to spin the other way and not behind the red. He's left himself another one of these shots. He's had two little tricky periods in the finishes he's gone for so far, and he's come up with big shots to negotiate the problem. He needs another one now. Looking at playing red onto the red, or alternatively he could play a double on the red he's nearest to. The problem with this, if he plays red onto red, is the red he's playing could go safe. No,
it's a really nice shot from Simon.
Great shot. The impressive thing for that is that he was able to control the pace to stop that red moving. You can see how it was just starting to move towards the rail. Nice pace to play this at, that it stopped that red going too far.
And that is a fairly simple one to leave himself on the black. So once again, Simon Ward giving himself an issue, but getting over it and putting himself another frame on the board here in round one. Great stuff from the Welshman as he ties things up in set number 2. Lovely plan. There is, Simon was alluding to, never an easy shot to play, especially when the two balls that you're looking to plant are so far away from each other.
Yeah, and the ball that wasn't that close to the pocket as well, so it had to be controlled really well, and he couldn't play it with too much pace. So it was a brilliant shot.
And you just noticed there, the total balls potted is hugely superior in terms of Simon. Yes, he had a huge amount more time at the table, but Mark's not been really allowed to get into much of a rhythm. And you noticed there when Simon came to the table, it just is flowing very nicely, his game at the moment.
Yeah, he's taken them out very nicely. He's pretty much taken all of his chances apart from maybe one. He's really in good rhythm today.
Here comes the next break. And he might get a little bit unlucky there. That is a dry break. The red rattling in the top corner pocket, but it stayed out, and Mark Boyle maybe with a bit of an opportunity here. It's rare that a break has gone badly for, or has gone rather for Mark in this game so far.
Absolutely. And it's a really important time for Mark now. He's 1-1 in this set. In a set he really needs to get going in this match. If he lost this frame, he would be up against it.
Well, that one wiped its feet on the way in, but made its way eventually. This is not going to be...
There are no real problem balls for this finish. The yellow to the furthest to the left is probably the biggest problem, but it's not. As long as he gets good position onto it, he's okay. He could take it now, but it's a quite thin cut.
He's looking at it, isn't he? The safer option, maybe one of the balls in the middle up to the top pocket, which is what he's taking a look at now.
Yeah, he would have liked to have stayed on this one at the bottom, but he may have to go back up, take one of the long straight one, as you just said, and then come back down for it. I think he is considering the one along the rail, but it is very, very thin. And the control of the white when you're potting one like this is much trickier, because the white's going to be travelling with a lot more pace. He'll be going close to hitting that black.
Tough shot this, and it doesn't quite drop. Was a difficult shot for Mark Boyle. It just isn't quite going its way in this game so far.
Yeah, as it quite often happens in this game, when it's just not going your way, the shots are trickier. If that white's an inch or so further down the table, then that becomes a lot easier, and he probably negotiates it better.
It just glanced off the rail on its way through, and it needed to be a far cleaner entrance to the pocket at that angle. And Simon here
30 seconds.
taking a look at the reds.
Yeah, so the red nearest his hand is his biggest problem, which is why he's gone straight after it. Yeah, it's the red he's on next to now. That was always going to be his problem ball. He's finished a little bit too close to it. He probably still, to have the chance for the finish, he probably still needs to take it now, but it's a very, very tricky shot. And
He does perhaps have the safety net of leaving himself just anywhere really at the top of the table, which is where he might be looking.
He was helped in that shot that he's quite a tall guy, so he was able to reach that. There are other players on the tour that would have really struggled to reach that one, and if you start bringing in the rest and the equipment, it becomes a lot harder.
That's a nice recovery from Simon Ward. Eventually he did have those cluster of reds at the top of the table to almost use as a safety net, and that's what he's got here.
Yeah, he's got rid of that red. All his balls are absolutely fine, no major problems. A little bit thin on this one, but not too bad. So probably be looking to clear the reds at the top of the table now, and then come down for the red at the bottom.
Black goes into both middle pockets.
Yeah, the black is at his own choice. There's a few options for the black. He's going to pot the red he's nearest to now. He could play on the red that's away from the other three now, and then go back up for the other two. It's how he sees it. He may decide to leave it for his last ball, which is probably how I would go about it. If he could just pop this and roll through a few inches, he can then clear the other three at the top. But he has decided to go down for the one at the bottom.
Yeah, in doing so, he just moves the one at the top pocket just away from the rail, which will help him out for that shot as well.
Fully intentional.
Dead straight on this one, so just a simple screw back for the one over the pocket. And Simon Ward is going to head into the lead in this set. See the bottom there, best of 5 sets, first of 3. Long format here in the World Championships, which, as we mentioned, does favour a comeback, but Mark Boyle will not want to be 2 sets down, make no mistake about that. Plays that last red with a lot of power, and he does just get himself down for the black. Not the easiest queuing, but still should be fairly straightforward for Simon Ward. Just to stun it in, and that makes it 2-1 in this second set.
Yeah, that one will hurt Mark a little bit more. If Simon breaks and clears the table, you can't do too much about it, but when you know you've had a chance in the frame, it does hurt a little bit more, because Mark's made a mistake there to allow Simon in.
And as we've seen in this competition, you can't make mistakes against this standard of opposition, because all too often you'll be sitting down in your chair for a rather long time.
Yeah, we can see here that Gary Clark seems to be absolutely motoring. He's already 2 sets to 0 up, flying through so far.
Really close game developing in between Brian Halcrow and Jack Whelan, still in the first set, only 3-2 as well.
3-2, Jack Whelan, yeah, and he was the champion 3 years ago now, time's flying. So another one of the favourites this week, up against it in that first set.
So Mark back on the break. He's had a lot of trouble with the break.
You could see there the white was tracking to that right middle, but got kicked out the way. So
and at long last, he finally gets a shot off his own break. 4th time of asking. The white stays out and a ball goes in. I did just think for a second if that white was going to end up somewhere else. Such has been his luck. But he's into his break here is Mark Boyle.
Yeah, no problems. This is as routine as it can get for Mark. This is just what he needed really at 2-1 down. He can just drop this one at the top of the table, the right-hand part of the table as we look now. Get somewhere near. It's fairly straight to the one to the centre, and then it's just a fairly simple case of potting the remaining 3 balls. Nothing to do with the white.
Yeah, I think it's just what Mark needed at this stage. Nothing too much to think about, just concentrate on playing the balls as they are. Doesn't have to do an awful lot with the cue ball.
No, they're all lined up for him now. Just needs to work his way through the final 3 balls.
Isn't it amazing? We've seen over 40 minutes of play here, and this frame will be over in less than a minute. Mark is not hanging about.
Absolutely flying.
And the Scotsman is going to clean up here to level things up in this set. 2 apiece in frames. Race to 4, remember, and that is just what Mark Boyle was after. He's endured a difficult start to this game.
Yeah,
that will give him a little bit of a confidence boost.
Yeah, I think Mark's normally a slightly more methodical player than he's shown there. Maybe that's because of the frustration of the way the match has gone so far. He thought I'm just going to try and get some rhythm going, or it may be just the fact that it was a fairly simple split for him, and he was able he saw it quickly and was able to run through it. But certainly found a bit more rhythm in that frame. Yeah, we can see there that breaking at the bottom of the table, that is our #1 seed, Mr. Farnsworth. He's already 1 set to 0 up. This is at the last 64 stage, so you can see all the players in action.
Yeah, very, very busy at the Cedar Court Hotel here in Bradford today. Plenty of players milling about, plenty in high spirits as well.
Another big break from Simon.
Really does motor through with the power. Got a very, very powerful break, does Simon Ward. And quite a few balls going down on that one, so he's got a bit of a decision to make here.
Would have been unlucky if the white had been kicked in off there, because he screwed it straight up the middle of the table, which is what he's trying to do, get it out of the trouble, stop it from being kicked in. It nearly did. He's okay. So he's I don't really know what he's looking at here. It looks at first glance like this is a fairly simple table for him off yellows. I wonder if he's thinking about potting the red now off the yellow just to open up the pocket a fraction more, I think.
See there, he's just winding down as much of the shot clock as possible.
Yeah, you can see how the red next to the one he just played obviously didn't go to that top pocket, so by playing that red off the yellow rather than direct, it's just he was trying to open up the pocket for himself. He's a little bit unfortunate that yellow's cannoned that red, because he was trying to play onto that red, and it's cannoned it into a bit more of an awkward position from where he is now.
Yeah, there's no gimme here for Simon Ward. A couple of options for him, but neither is particularly easy, or indeed gives him a simple route onto his next.
Yeah, he really wanted to pot these two to the right, but he's finished a bit more angle on this than he wanted because it's been cannoned out of the way. So this is where he's had to reset. He would have worked out what he wanted to do at the start, and now he's had to reset. But he was a little bit short on that positional shot as well, so he hasn't quite got back to where he wanted to yet.
Well, this is quite a similar shot to the one that Mark missed a couple of frames ago. The very thin cut into the corner.
Yeah, and a similar sort of thing that he's going to go close to cannoning that black, and it's the positional play off this shot that is the hardest part.
Shot's lovely.
Great shot to avoid. Played that with lots of check side to avoid the black. And now he's back into pretty decent position. You can see him there. He was just pointing his cue. He's looking at the red in the middle of the table as his next shot after this, but he wants to be very straight on it so that he can just roll through for the red at the bottom of the table.
He's got an unfortunate cannon there, which will mean he won't be straight on it.
Yeah, that flick has just hurt him here. You can see now if he was straight on that, he'd roll through a few inches and be on the red at the bottom, but now he's going to go into the yellow with that, so he's got a real problem here.
It is a gamble, isn't it? He's almost looking there to see if he can kiss off that yellow into the path of probably the other yellow, then onto the red. That's the shot that he's looking at.
He's got to get some balls moving here. Oh, that's not bad. Played that with lots of spin just to feather off that yellow.
That's the beauty of the red dots on the the pool cue ball. It was really spinning at a rate of knots there, and again he's looking at another kiss on the yellow to leave himself on the black.
The potting angle of this red is so thin that he can't avoid that yellow just above it, so he's going to be cannoning that and hitting this at quite a fair pace, so the white could, if he catches that yellow thin, could fly around all over the place here.
He doesn't want to cannon the yellow into the black either. This is a big shot. This is the decisive shot of the frame here for Simon Ward. There goes the black. The red is in.
And you can see the whites flying around the table, and he's been unlucky.
The pot was terrific, but he did have an inkling that the black was going to go on the move.
I think it just shows you how fractions in this game are so critical. 2 shots ago, if he finishes straight, the frame's over, and he finished a couple of inches off straight, and now he's snookered on the black. Such a fine line.
And of course the jaw of the pocket there playing a role with the white as well. If he avoided that jaw, he would have been pretty okay, I think.
30 seconds.
Now Simon Ward has given himself an issue, because the last thing he'll want to give Mark Boyle was a clear table.
And it's actually, if he could hit this off one cushion, he could get the black moving and try and get it going somewhere towards the pocket, but he can't because the middle pocket's in the way. So he's having to come off a few more cushions here.
Not an easy escape route this for Simon Ward.
It's a great hit.
It's maybe about as good as he would have dreamed that going, if nothing else, because he ties up the yellow with the black, so he at least gives Mark something to think about.
Yeah, I think that yellow will probably still go. It's difficult to tell, but all he was trying to do there was not foul and hope to try and mess the table up in some way. But we'll see in a minute that Mark's got a good opener, and that yellow, he's played on that yellow by the black, so that still goes. So he's got a fairly open table here to get himself in front in this set.
Yeah, these balls are nicely set for Mark Boyle, who is now a favourite for the frame.
Yeah, it'd be a big surprise if Mark doesn't take these out from here.
Simple screw back for the Scotsman.
It's very hard to see. There's no real problems at all. It's very hard to see how he can make a mistake here.
And it was that shot that you mentioned where he just wanted to be straight on the red, just got a little kiss off the yellow, gave himself an angle, and that's where it didn't seem like a massive problem at the time, but in 2 shots down the line, that's where the problems can really...
Yeah, he did a really good job of getting himself onto the next red, but because he lacked the control doing it, that it was thinner than he needed, and then he was asking for a little bit of luck because he knew the white was going to be travelling around the table, and it went against him this time. So his fractions in this game.
So Mark Boyle leaves himself maybe a little straighter than he would have liked on this yellow, but it should still be straightforward to leave himself on the black.
No problems at all here for Mark. Absolutely perfect position now.
And Mark Boyle here needs the black ball for a lead in this set and to be 1 frame away from levelling it up overall as well. Nicely done from Mark Boyle, who takes that one out to put himself 3-2 up in this set. And despite the issues that he had in the first, this has been a far more even affair.
Yeah, and a much more important set for Mark than it is for Simon. Going 2 sets to 0 down will put him under a lot of pressure. Yeah, you can see there that Simon still has a lot more balls potted, but you can see that it's becoming that Mark's starting to get into the match now as he's starting to close that gap a little bit.
6th frame, Mark
Still the issue with the break for Mark Boyle. Still only 1 ball potted off the break, 2 fouls from it as well, 1 dry.
Yeah, he hasn't got his break going yet today. And he's changed. You can see here he's going to try and hit the front ball. His previous breaks he's been hitting the side, the second ball down. So it's a change of break for him to try and get something going.
And it hasn't worked.
And it hasn't worked. He's come up dry again.
It's another dry one. A little wry smile there from Mark Boyle, almost to say, oh, what else can I try and do?
Yeah, he's had 5 breaks in this match, and he's only made a ball once, and he's gone in off twice. So his break is really letting him down at this stage.
Yellow in the middle pocket was on its way, but didn't have enough pace, and all of a sudden, Simon Ward will be pretty excited to come to the table here. It's very open.
Yeah, those yellows look very inviting.
30 seconds.
Not a great first shot from Simon. He was trying to avoid that cannon. He was trying to go past it. Now he's cannoned it. Unless the yellow he's just cannoned goes into the left centre, then he's going to have a very hampered, awkward long shot to play instead.
There you go. It's going to be a very tight shot into that centre pocket, isn't it? If it does go.
If it goes, then he's actually got a nice little angle on it just to drift past the yellow to the furthest right and beyond that one as well. So it all depends whether this goes.
30 seconds.
I don't think he's got the full pocket. In fact, the fact he's looking at other options suggests that it definitely doesn't go. And as I said a minute ago, it's the awkward queuing long pot instead.
Played it at a rate of knots there, and it's rattled in the jaws of the pocket and out. And Mark Boyle maybe with a chance to get a bit of a reprieve in this frame. But this is not set up easily for him.
I think that's the first time in this match that Simon hasn't punished a dry break from Mark. all the previous dry breaks, he's cleared the table to win the frame. This time he's come a cropper on the second shot.
Yeah, had to play it at a fair bit of pace with the way he was queuing down on the ball.
Yeah, very easy to just get a trace of side on that, and the pace and the way he's queuing down on it, and it will move offline. But not a disaster for Simon in the fact that the balls have then flown around and he's caused a problem for Mark on the right-hand side of the table.
And that is a big problem as well.
All the other balls, it's like they're all around the rails. He's looking at this. You can see he's puffing his cheeks out there because this is very tricky.
25 seconds left on the shot clock. Wouldn't surprise me if he uses extension here.
Yeah, he's very, very aggressive player, thinking he can clear from any situation, but I think this might be one where he might be better off pulling back and looking for a safety. But he is going to be aggressive.
Just drops that one in. And it's not.
Yeah, this cluster at the bottom of the tables, that's the big problem, red. All the other reds on the table are awkward, but they're all solvable. This one's the biggest problem. The way I thought he was on this red at the top of the table, but the fact he can't pot it, he was just looking at it there. He's not quite on the red at the top of the table, which means he's going to have to reroute again.
Yeah, just drops that red over the middle in dead weight.
Yeah, so it is still all about that red, yellow, and yellow cluster.
He's going to have to rely at any stage really on a little bit of luck with a cannon.
Yeah, when you've got a cluster, when you've got a problem ball like that, you're looking for other balls that you can use to go into that ball with to open up the ball and create to solve the problem. But it's very difficult. The one at the bottom of the table, you always look at the closest ones, but that one at the bottom of the table, it's quite close to the red. It's actually quite a difficult ball to be able to cannon into that red with. So you can see where he's pointing his cue now. His margin of error when he gets down to that, to have the angle to go into that red and yellow,
it's very small.
Very small. Yeah. If that was a few inches up the table, we have much more margin.
Well, as it is so close to the rail, he needs to leave himself in between that ball and the rail, which is a very, very fine margin of error. But of course he has to pot the ball at the top of the table first and foremost, so Simon Ward will come back to the table. And now an interesting dynamic emerging here, Simon, because whilst that red was a problem for Mark, those two yellows are likewise a bit of a problem for Simon here.
They are, absolutely. The outside yellow, the inside yellow might go. It looks very, very tight. And of course Mark's blocked the pocket for a couple of Simon's yellows as well to the
30 seconds.
The bottom right as we look at the screen now.
Here's that miss, just overcut it. Not by a lot, but by enough.
And as I said before, that you're looking for a ball to be able to cannon into that cluster with. There's nothing nearby, so it's not a particularly easy one to find either. So Simon's going for a skill shot. That'll be the first time we've seen. Oh, he's playing a safety. Completely surprised me.
Yeah, I just wondered, similar to you, I thought he was going to play the yellow in with the red, but he plays a safety shot, and for the very first time we have a little bit of a safety battle there. Yeah. Similar to yourself, Simon, I thought that we were going to see our first skill shot whereby the player two balls in the same pocket of differing colours, it still would have counted. But now we have a safety battle on our hands. Yeah, I thought he was going to go for the skill shot where you pot your opponent's ball and you can, as well as your own ball, just to open up that pocket. I thought he'd do that, and then if he wanted to, he could play safe afterwards. But I thought it's a way of gaining more control in the frame. So yes, it is our first tactical battle. Mark wasn't trying to pot that; he was just trying to float it down over the pocket. He's annoyed. He's annoyed with that red, that it's pulled up just short of the pocket, creating a big pocket for that yellow on the left-hand side.
both players are trying to create an opening for themselves. Both players have got this same problem of the area at the bottom of the table. That little cluster there is causing a problem for both players, and it's very difficult to see how either player can get into those.
Because of course neither player will open that up without potting a ball, because that could be disastrous. Simon takes the pot there.
Now we do see the skill shot that we talked about 2 minutes ago, when he potted his own ball and then he can pot his opponent's ball. He didn't need to clear that pocket for himself, but to be able to pot a ball past it, but he's cleared that pocket for a little bit of control. In a safety battle like this, if you've got more balls on the table, you're actually in more control than your opponent. It allows Simon to have a bit more control, probably has more areas on the table that he can get the white safe into.
Also allowed him to play that shot with no fear of going in off either.
Absolutely. It's still, the finish still really isn't on. The clearance is still, it's not really there. He could pot the one that he's nearest to the back up to the top left. The white, he's a little bit thin on this. The white might be going close to the centre pocket.
And of course the position that this match is in at this stage, as I think that was a pot attempt, you know, from
it was
Simon there.
It was. He was trying to use the big pocket that I was talking about earlier, but it's not come up really well for him at all. Mark, see, we might try and see Mark try and find the angle on this red at the bottom to go into that red and yellow. We talked about it when he was going for his original clearance, how small a margin of error he has on that to get a good angle to be able to go into that cluster.
Yeah, the issue for him is he needs to leave the white below the red on the bottom rail.
But if he goes too far below, then he won't be able. It really isn't much space there at all. See, that's too low now. He won't be able to get into that cluster. When he pots this, he'll be going near the black and not near the red and yellow.
Almost needed to leave it just a little bit more than half ball, almost.
Yeah, he's just he's an inch too low on this. But if he'd been an inch too high, it'd have been straight, so that's why it was such a fine margin.
Yeah, difficult shot then coming up for Mark Boyle. He's decided on whether he even takes the pot here or whether he reignites that safety battle.
Yeah, he is a very, very aggressive player, so it looks like he's going to come up with something. Okay, he thinks there's a gap through to this red, so he can pot it down the rail. That's incredibly tight. If he's on this, it's a brilliant, brilliant shot. But if he is on this as well, he'll be cannoning the yellows off the cushion. The black's over the pocket, so it shouldn't cause too much of a problem. He should be able to get out onto it, but it could go wrong.
That's the tiniest of gaps. And he's so unlucky. Just didn't quite drop for Mark Boyle. We've talked all frame long about how that ball was a problem ball, and I don't think anyone, apart from Mark Boyle, saw that was on.
No, there was a gap. It was just about wide enough for the white ball. You can see there. It was a fantastic shot to get on that, but to just hit the near jaw and stayed up.
I just wonder if you could actually see the potting angle, because obviously it's all well and good hitting the ball, but the potting angle would have been so marginal in that position.
Yeah, he may have just been too thick on it and not been able to. I think we're going to see Simon go for another skill shot, so he's going to pot his yellow and he's going to play his red onto his yellow onto the red, sorry, and
because
follow the yellow in.
A lot of players who maybe play down the local every other week would be in trouble here. But
yeah,
of course, in this competition, you can't just hold your pockets.
Yeah, this is what makes this game so exciting. There's always something you can do. This is one of the shots that really opens the game up for the... Oh, wow. Just wriggled in.
Still have to pot your ball, though. That's
Absolutely.
the most important thing.
If that yellow stayed up, then he would have given away a foul. He's not come out very nicely either. He's got a couple of bad cannons and finished very, very awkward.
Yeah, just wonder if if this yellow that he's next to is straight, he might consider it, or is he just going to rule that out altogether?
I think it depends, for me, it depends how awkward the queuing is over that yellow, whether he can see enough of the centre of the... It looks like he can just see enough of the centre of the white to make this one down the rail. Oh, he's missed it.
Now this is a really, really interesting setup. Simon Ward just taking a little look at the state of the table there to see if Mark can pot this black.
Yeah. Simon was well aware where he was leaving the white. He wasn't leaving an easy black. He wasn't thinking, if I miss, I'm going to leave it safe, but he was very, because he was thinking about potting it, but he was very aware that he would be leaving it incredibly awkward should he miss.
Well, this doesn't cut into the middle pocket, I don't think. He's gone for the double.
Wow.
Brilliantly done from Mark Boyle.
What a way to win a set.
Absolutely tremendous, and as Simon says there, it's the set for Mark Boyle. That makes it 4 frames to 2, 1 set apiece, and probably our best frame of the match so far ends with perhaps the best shot of the match so far as well. Beautifully done from Mark Boyle to double the black in and to get himself on the board in sets.
Yeah, and again, it's the... Simon will be very frustrated because of the chances he had in that frame. If he goes 3-3 there and he's breaking for the set.
Here we go, those stats at the end of the second set. It was very, very even. That's pretty much as read, but the big stat there, the missed pots, is all of a sudden climbing. It was a very, very competitive final frame. Do join us in a few moments' time. We will be having the third set, which is coming up, and plenty on the way in this competition. We'll be having the third set coming up for you after the break.
Okay, gentlemen.
Now, welcome back to the Cedar Court Hotel in Bradford. IPA World Championships action in the pool. It's been a wonderful start in this game that we're watching between Mark Boyle and Simon Ward. Here are the results around the tables in Bradford, though, as things stand. And some interesting games developing, but we will take a look at this one. Mark Boyle versus Simon Ward, 1 set each. We mentioned at the top of the show it was going to be close, and it certainly has been.
Yeah, Mark's changed his break back to the cut break, the side break, and it's been more successful this time.
That's in fact the best break he's had of the whole match, actually.
Yeah, comfortably his best break.
Hasn't left himself the easiest table, though, if he was going to be super picky about it. We've seen more open tables, but a few problem areas for either colour really here.
Yeah, reds are not too much of a problem. If he can get himself straight on the red, if he can get himself the 3 in the bottom half of the table, if he can get straight on the one that's away from the 2, he can just drop through. Those other 2 go to the bottom left. So every red here has got a pocket. If he can get himself straight onto that red, then he can just roll through for those 2 reds, and that they look a problem, but they're not. And then everything else has got a pocket. He's slightly awkward here where he's left the angle. He's got more angle on this next shot than he wanted to the middle. I don't think he wanted to be playing this red to the top now.
30 seconds.
I think he wanted to leave the red he's just played as a last ball, so he's rerouted from his original plan, I believe. But he's back into perfect shape. He's just doing it a slightly different way.
And yeah, just you mentioned there, Simon, that black ball a little bit away from the rest of these reds, but at least it is open, at least at the top of the table.
Yeah, that's why I said the one he just potted he would have ideally liked to leave till his last ball, because it was the obvious ball to get onto the black with.
And you mentioned was the shot he was looking for to leave himself straight on those reds to then set up these 2 into the corner pocket.
Yeah, but there's no real problems now. Clear these 2 that are next to each other at the bottom that he's perfect on, and then he can work his way back up the table with the next 2. Leave himself the one to the bottom right as we look at his last ball and its natural position onto the black.
Yeah, just runs through for this second red. Natural angle to get back up the table for the remaining two, I should say. And things are looking pretty rosy here for Mark Boyle, considering he lost that first set 4 frames to zip, went in off twice of his break. It's been a good recovery from the Scotsman.
He's going to be annoyed now. He's finished just off straight the wrong way. So he wanted to be an inch to the left of where he's finished, an inch lower down the table, so that he could just pot this, roll through to leave the red to the right centre as his last ball for the black. But he's now going to have to come up with something slightly different. Normally he would just be able to come back, but that yellow in between the reds is going to cause a problem for him. Oh, he was able to pinch the pocket there. He potted that in the far left-hand side of the pocket to be able to create that angle just to get higher the middle pocket, and now he's absolutely perfect. No mistakes from here.
Yeah, nicely done from Mark Boyle. He leaves himself perfect on the black, and it should be a 1-0 lead in this third set, which will be the first time he's led in the whole game here. And that is a decent recovery from a tricky start for Mark Boyle, who has the advantage for the very first time in the match. He leads the third set by a frame to 0.
Yeah, we can see how set play, this momentum can really swing. It was 4-0 and all Simon's way in the first set, but it swung round, and like I say, Mark's now in front in the all-important third set.
Yeah, you just see the difference in time between the second and the first set. And considering Mark Boyle whipped through one of those frames in about 45 seconds,
yeah,
that really is some going.
Second frame.
It's a much tighter affair, much more what we were expecting in this game. To tell you the truth, there's Simon Ward here back to break.
another big break from Simon.
And there is a red down for the Welshman.
He's having much more success on his break than Mark, but it's still very even, this battle.
Does generate a huge amount of cue power on the break, does Simon Ward.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see which way he goes on this. It looks like he's gearing up for yellows. The yellow above the black would be his only major problem. But he might have an angle off this first shot just to screw back into the black. There we go. So he's now opened up. The only yellow that didn't have a pocket didn't go. And now everything goes. So he's going to pot the 3 at the bottom end of the table, and he's going to then look to go at the top end of the table, and then the black will be simple down for the bottom left pocket as we look now. There's no stumbling blocks here, no major problems.
Looks fairly straightforward this for Simon Ward.
He just needs to come back to not far off where he is now, play the one along the bottom, come back to not far off where he is now, and then anywhere into the middle part of the table, and it's fairly routine from there. Looks like he's going to pot the one to the top left next after this, then the one along the top rail, leave the one onto the top right as his last ball, and he's got plenty of space to get on the black, so no problems here for Simon.
Yeah, got the entirety of the middle of the table to play with, to leave himself on the black. And this is what we alluded to a little bit in that first set. Sometimes Mark Boyle's just gone up in the game for the first time. Absolutely nothing you can do about this. He just has to take the medicine, as it were, as we enter the 78th minute of this match.
You don't get that too frustrated when your opponent does this, because you expect it from them. It's when you get chances and don't take it that you can get frustrated. So Mark won't be annoyed with this, or he'll just be ready for the next frame. See if he can then do the same to Simon.
This is perhaps the most difficult shot of the break, though. But he dispatches it with ease. Great shot from Simon Ward, and he levels things up again. It is a very close game here in this round 1 match. Simon Ward looking pretty pleased with that visit. No mistakes.
Yeah, Simon would be very frustrated with the way the second set panned out, but he he's got a very good temperament, and straight back into it in this third set.
Now we can see the coverage from the other tables. Those are the live results, or live scores rather, as we have them, and some very close games as well. But Andrew Hughes and Jordan Church still 0-0 in sets, only 2-2 in frames.
Yeah, I think there may be a slight delay in those scores, hopefully not, but yeah, Jordan won a match in 59 minutes in the qualifying, so he flies through. So
now that's a little bit more like it from Mark Boyle. Off the break, 2 down, 1 of each.
Yeah, he's got his break going now. He's looking very dangerous. Now he's got his break going. Okay, he doesn't have any clusters. There's no problem areas. He can go either colour set here. He's gonna. I believe he's gonna go reds because of the yellow at the top end of the table. Yeah, this.
One at the top right.
One at the top right. Yeah, that didn't pass. So yeah, I think that's made his choice to go reds. But every red's got a pocket.
We knew what you meant, Simon. It's all right.
Technical issues with the telestrator.
But Mark Boyle will be looking at this fairly pleased with his lot. 5 to pot and then the black, and they all have their places. Should be the Scotsman back into the lead.
He didn't want that cannon. He was trying to avoid that yellow.
He has at least got the safety net of the shot down the rail into the top pocket, but it's not ideal. He will just have to reroute his plans a touch here.
Yeah, I think it's a reroute. I think he was trying to pot the red in the centre of the table, just avoid that yellow he flicked. I think he would like to have cleared the two at the one in the middle of the table first, but it's not a problem.
It's a lovely shot to lead himself along the rail.
Very nicely controlled shot. He could play on either ball here. It just depends which way he wants to go. In terms of if he tries to play onto the one to the right centre and comes up a little bit short, then the yellow will be a bit of a blocker to get onto the remaining red. So it's actually, it looks really open, but it's critical he gets good position on this next shot.
Yeah, we have seen him struggle a couple of times with a shot along the rail. These aren't easy. And there again, overcutting it, and Simon Ward will come back to the table. Bit of a grimace from Mark Boyle there. Just has a little look at the remaining balls just to see how easy this is going to be for Simon Ward. Just overcut it along the rail. He was perfect on his next shot.
Yeah, surprising miss from Mark. It was tricky along the rail, but you don't really expect Mark to miss pots like that.
A real opening this for Simon Ward. The yellow's fairly open, a couple of problem balls.
Yeah, it looks like he may have to play another skill shot with the yellow onto the red and follow it through to the top left. Other than that, everything's fairly okay. The one on the rail will need to be got on and potted. It's a stumbling block, but not a major problem. He's gone straight after that one, so he's going to play the one down the rail now.
Yeah, this one should be a fairly straightforward shot.
Yeah, it just wants to get the white on and off the cushion. Next shot will be through the gap of the reds. I believe he's going to be looking to leave the yellow at the top end of the table for his last ball. If he can get fairly straight on that, then he'll play the skill shot as his last shot and leave himself the simple task of potting the black.
A fairly lengthy shot here for this yellow. And that is a surprising miss for Simon Ward.
That's a very, very surprising miss for Simon. we've seen a couple of both misses in this frame have been very surprising.
Wasn't actually even particularly the best positional shot either from the Welshman.
No, he got that shot all wrong. He's a bit awkward on his next shot, but Mark will just be happy to be back at the table.
30 seconds.
Mark Boyle with a reprieve that he might not have been expecting. And that has missed as well. That was a great opportunity for Mark Boyle to get himself back into this frame. And Simon Ward would not have been expecting to be back at the table so quickly.
3 surprising misses on the trot now.
The only thing Mark Boyle has in his favour here, he's left nothing easy. To stay to play. There's the angle of the plant. It does go, it's not straight on. That's the only thing. Just let's play it with a little bit of an angle. But that's well played. It's really nicely done from Simon Ward, and all of a sudden this table opens itself back up. This is the miss that let him in. Again, just guilty of overcutting it, Mark Boyle. And it's pretty much as you were, actually, this for Simon. We'll just pretend that the miss has never happened.
Absolutely, this is back to exactly where he was trying to be. A couple of shots ago before that miss. The thing with those misses are if you get away with it, then you forget about it. So whoever loses this frame will remember those misses, and whoever wins it will just get on with the next frame.
Of course, perhaps the added burden of the TV cameras might just be playing into these players' mind. It does feel like a big game, this one, even though it is, of course, only round 1.
That's not the best positional shot from Simon. The red in the middle of the table was actually causing some problems for him, because he wanted to get somewhere in the middle of the table, but he didn't want to risk cannoning into that ball, and he's come a bit too far to the left, making this next shot very, very tricky.
We mentioned he'd be going for the skill shot. Yellow
he is
in off the red, but
yeah, he's looking at playing the yellow onto the red and following it through. But these shots, when you're right behind them, are not too bad. When you've got plenty of angle on it, like you have here, they become so much harder.
And he's also got to be a little bit careful as well. He has to play this with a little bit of pace of going into the black and potentially knocking it in.
He's missed the skill shot. That was very, very tough shot.
So the red goes, the yellow doesn't. So that means Mark is back to the table. And there's a foul by Simon Ward. And a really good opportunity here. So Mark gets to place the ball anywhere he likes behind the line and resume. So he leaves himself a simple shot on the red to give himself a nice angle on the next one. And this has been a very close frame. Really gone back and forth. And Mark Boyle now is eyeing up this shot, which would pretty much seal the frame. Just see there Simon Ward's face as he saw that go in over Mark's shoulder. That is routine now for Mark Boyle, and he will put himself back in the lead. Well, penny for your thoughts, Simon Ward. What an ending to the frame. It swung back and forth, and eventually it's the Scotsman who comes out on top. Really could have gone either way. Yeah,
and as I said earlier on, it's the player who loses this frame is going to feel a bit of pain from that, because they've both had great chances to win the frame.
And there we go. You can already see we've played 22 minutes of this third set. Still only 2-1. Game getting gradually more tactical, I feel, as it goes on.
Yeah, maybe it's the fact that it's the third set, it's 1-1, it's such a critical set. If you can get yourself 2-1 in front, you can relax a little bit more. Maybe there's a bit more tension out there now.
Simon back on the break. Has been fairly safe on his breaks, but I think that one's going to come up dry. Just not quite going Simon Ward's way at the moment.
Yeah, he's crunched the break. He's really got a big break, but it's dry on this occasion. I always think the momentum of sport has a part to play. If he wins that previous frame, I think he makes a ball there and gets a chance.
And you can see how well he got into them by how open the middle of the table is. Ball's really well spread apart.
Yeah, and there's no problems here again. It's such a wide open table for Mark to go at. Every ball's got a pocket. No problem areas, no cannons required. Just a case of finding the right route round the table.
This is one of those moments where Mark would have got up out of his seat, seen that the break was dry, and his eyes would have lit up. This should be fairly straightforward for a player of his ability.
Yeah, it'd be a big surprise if Mark doesn't work his way through this frame.
30 seconds.
I think he might want to look at taking the one at the bottom of the table next. If he can clear, he could go. The thing about this finish, he could go in a number of different ways. There is no problems. There are no errors. It's a case of how he sees it, which one he wants to leave as his last ball.
Just plays a little drag shot to slow the ball down on its way through to keep himself at the top of the table.
So in these situations, there are so many different ways you can go about the finish when they're all open like this. It's about having a clear mind of how you want to do it, rather than just potting balls and knowing you'll be on the next one. Identifying which one you want to keep as your last ball. Maybe out of these three, I doubt he'll want to leave the one at the bottom as his last ball. I think it'll be one of the ones over the middle.
Just to leave himself above the black.
Yeah, it's just to make the position onto the black the simplest, but you could take him in any order.
One's right into the heart of the pocket. And Mark Boyle with a choice, really, as to how he takes this.
If he takes the one to the right, he'd be running away, so it would be the one to the left. And leave himself straight on the one to the right, and he'll only have to come back a few inches for a simple black to the bottom right corner.
Simple shot here to screw back to leave himself on the black. A little bit of a reach for Mark Boyle, but other than that, should be fairly straightforward. And for the first time, he leads by a couple of frames. That was a potentially crucial frame for Mark to win that. Really did take advantage of the dry break from Simon, his third from 7.
Yeah, big mistake. It was frame 3 there. The big mistakes have given the momentum to Mark, and he's made no mistake there. And of course, he'll be breaking now, and the last 2 breaks from him have been very, very good and given himself good chances. So he'll be looking to get this set wrapped up the very next visit.
Momentum does feel that it's with the Scotsman, that's for sure. Simon Ward isn't finding it as easy as he did in that first set in particular. Good break here from Mark would really set him up very, very nicely to move himself on to take this crucial third set. Race to 4, remember, in frames to take the set. Mark just 1 away. And he does get a ball down, gets a couple of balls down.
Another great break from Mark. He's really got that break going now.
So as Mark takes a look at how the balls lay, we'll see how they got there. A couple of reds went down, one early on, and another just kissing into the middle pocket there as well.
Yeah, he's got some problems though. It's not. We saw with the previous frame, it was all open, but he's got a problem on the spot there, and he's got a problem here. He needs to, whichever colour set he decides to go, he needs to solve those two problems. It looks to me, it looks like yellows will be the easier to solve.
And that's his thinking as well. Straight down. That is not exactly what he was after, but he does have the safety net of the yellow into the middle pocket again.
He's almost done enough with that though, that the yellow, he's nudged the yellow to the rail, so it will go to that top right hand pocket, and because of the yellow just below the middle pocket, he knows he can get good position onto it. So he may save, he may, rather than trying to go into them again to develop that again, he may decide, I'm going to leave those two for my last two balls. If I get straight on the one down the rail, I can roll through a few inches and I'll have the black to the opposite centre. So that may, although he's only nudged it a little bit, probably has done enough.
Let's see what Mark does from here. Doesn't play it at too much pace. That's a nice shot to leave him on his next one.
I don't think he wanted to nudge that black. See, it's just a little flick on that black.
Knocked it a little bit safe, hasn't he?
He's knocked it, because if he does leave the one on the rail till his last ball, position from that one onto the black would now be much harder. So he may choose to not do that and look at a different route. Without that flick on the black would be a bit easier from that yellow.
30 seconds.
Shot down into the corner pocket then for Mark here, as he looks to hoover up the balls at the bottom half of the table.
Yeah, just cannon into the red now, just to knock that out the way, leave himself on the other yellow at the bottom of the table. This frame looks like it's all going to be about that yellow down the rail, and how does he get on the black from it? It'll be a tricky pot and position. He may decide to just drop it in and leave himself a double on the black.
Well, we will see a few shots on the right side of the table, or the bottom now as we look at it. The one into the corner, it'll be a simple screw back for the one in the middle, and it'll just look to leave the white where the ball over the middle pocket is.
You could see from that overhead shot we just showed you that how difficult it could be to get on the black, but he's overscrewed that quite a bit.
Yeah, eventually you want to leave the white where the second yellow is. He won't have that option now. And in fact, it's a fairly difficult cut shot actually. It's not the easiest. It will move the white a fair way away.
It's just the fact that white's running away here. See how he played that off the thickest part of the jaw, dead weight, just to hold the white, to stop it making the white running too far away. But the fact that he overscrewed the previous shot means he's further away from this shot, and he's slightly hampered queuing. Just makes this shot that was already hard even harder.
Well, to win frames in World Championships, you will have to play difficult shots. This is, make no mistake, a difficult shot.
Extension.
Yeah, and we've seen how quickly the match can swing and the sets can swing. So if he misses this, he'll think he'll lose this frame, and then all of a sudden he could be under pressure for the set that he's comfortable in at the moment. So big pressure.
Playing a little bit of right-hand side, as you can see. Looks to just drop that in, and he does.
It's a great pot, and he has played on the double, as I suggested. I don't think he can get, the overhead is a bit deceptive. I don't think he can cut this into the middle. I think he'll be playing the back double into the bottom middle past that red.
Yeah, it's a champagne finish, potentially, to the set for Mark Boyle.
That's a great shot.
Beautifully done from the Scotsman. And that is a complete turnaround for Mark Boyle. He now leads by 2 sets to 1. And the game has turned on its head. Simon Ward is left here with a little bit to think about. Then we see the summary. Mark Boyle roaring back after a disastrous start Simon Ward now will have to take it the distance if he's to make it through to round 2 of these World Championships. Let's find out if he can do it after the break. Now, welcome back. We are in Bradford for the 2018 IPA World Pool Championships. And those are the scores around the tables here in round 1.
We can see that the #1 seed Mark Farnsworth's taken a good grip on his match, gone 2-0 ahead. Interesting scoreline there is that Jack Whelan is 2-0 down in sets to Brian Halcrow, the champion 3 years ago. He is 3-0 up in the third set though, so looks like he might be pulling one back.
Meanwhile, on the main table, we're going to carry on focusing on this one. Mark Boyle versus Simon Ward. Mark Boyle leads by 2-1.
Oh, Simon completely mishit that break. We will see that again, but you can see the white just slid off the side. He completely mishit it.
It's actually worked out quite well for him.
Yeah, quite often.
Certainly better than his last one.
You mishit the break and you make a couple of balls, but he didn't. Watch the white here, it just flies off this. This is, yeah, he normally tries to get the white to go back up the centre of the table. He mishit that. You can see how the white's spinning now, how much he mishit that shot.
And isn't it strange, all the issues we've seen with breaks, particularly in this game, not just from Mark, to be fair, after his first 2 horrible breaks, but even from Simon as well. And it's a dodgy one, which has opened this one up. Not the easiest in a positional sense here. This is the issue, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the issue. These 2 balls here are the biggest issue. The other reds are fine. These 2 would be a problem if he wanted to go reds. He would have a very tough first red as well. If he wants to go yellows, then the 2 yellows at the left-hand side as well would be slight bit of an issue. But it's those 2 balls there that are together that will be the biggest problem. He doesn't have a very inviting first shot. It looks like he might be just playing a safety, and he is.
Well, in doing so, he's also created another problem area, if you like. This could be a really tactical battle.
Yeah, just trying to stop Mark from having anything to go up with that previous shot.
He has got the long yellow along the top rail as we look at it here, but it's maybe a potentially risky shot for not a huge amount of gain, perhaps.
Yeah, it's very tough for either player to get into that red and yellow that are causing the problem that I highlighted before.
Mark is aggressive. Looks like he might be taking this one on. He is. And he will know he'll be able to take out a few of these yellows, but as we saw in the last set, sometimes if you get too many balls down, it can tip the safety battle in your opponent's favour.
Yeah, and he will be looking for an angle very quickly to try and go into that red and yellow. I think he might have wanted it off the last shot, but he's probably over-screwed a fraction.
Yeah, very straight on that ball.
So he's played a safety as well.
Yeah, didn't like that, Mark Boyle. Couldn't get an angle that he liked.
But he's played a very good shot there. If you're going to get into a safety battle, I quite like the fact that Mark's taken a colour set and then he's played safe, rather than Simon just played safe without colours being assigned, because you've got a colour set to try and develop and move forward, and one to try and block and make tricky. It helps. I think it helps to clear your mind of what you're trying to do.
Now that's an interesting shot. It does free up those 2 balls, but he's done that without really giving Mark an awful lot to go at here.
Yeah, we touched on the rule before about having to hit a cushion after contact. Because he was snookered, it meant he didn't have to hit a cushion after contact, so he could just play into those 2 slowly, and he knew if he cannoned his red first, he would be leaving it slightly awkward for Mark.
There is a pot on up along the rail, but we have seen Mark not really favour those to say the least, during this game. He's missed a couple already.
I think he's still. I think if that red and yellow that we've talked about, that red and yellow there that we was more open, or there's a way to go into it, then he would fancy going for this finish, even though it was awkward queuing for the first yellow. But because those two are there, and it's very difficult to get into those two from any of the balls on the table, he may be looking at a safety shot. Well, you see where he's pointing his cue now. He's trying to work out where he can leave the white and make it the most awkward for Simon. He'd also, I think, like to put, in an ideal world, it'd be nice to get a yellow somewhere near those the two problem balls, so that he can open them up in future visit.
What's the thinking here then, Simon? He seems fairly happy with the shot.
Yes, I'm wondering whether Simon, if he risks just, he hasn't really got an aggressive option. He could pot the red he's nearest to, but if he pots that, he's going to have the problem with that red and yellow. So if he pots this, he's almost making himself have to go for it, and if he doesn't get it, he's going to make it easier for Mark. So again, just pulling back, playing safe. He's now got a red nearer those two that he could probably, it would be easier for him to get into the problem area.
It's worth pointing out as well, particularly in this safety battle, that if a player doesn't pot a ball must come off the cushion.
Yeah, you've got to hit a cushion after contact or pot a ball. So,
which is a rule that's maybe not familiar to everyone. So it does make these safety battles particularly interesting. Can't just roll up behind a ball.
Oh, disaster for Mark. He's he's played a good safety. He's trying to get the white into a good safe area, but unfortunately potted that red.
But actually, I don't think that's not the end of the world there for Mark. Yes, of course he didn't want to pot the red and give the foul away, but it's still not easy here for Simon.
Simon's going to have to use his free shot now to develop that red. It's tricky, the first shot, but if he can develop that red and stay on one of the other two reds, then the frame's at his mercy. So this frame's all about this shot now.
He needs the balls to run for him.
I think that's okay. I thought the two reds were going to run into each other and be awkward, but it's going to be, I think as long as he's on the bottom one of those two now, he's not too bad. If he's not, he can pot the one to the left, but he'd have to come back. He'll be happy with this.
Yeah, there it goes.
He just needs
to go around the houses a little bit here to get himself back on the reds.
I think he can screw back just past the black, through the gap of the black and red, and look to leave himself fairly straight on the last red to the bottom right corner. Or he's going to top through it. You're right though, it's tricky. Yeah, so he's going to try and follow through off one cushion, come past the black and yellow. And that's fine. He's slightly hampered on the yellow, but not too bad at all.
Really had to work hard in this frame, Simon Ward, hasn't he? It's so interesting. Some frames fly by in a matter of seconds, and it's ever so easy, and then some frames really do take their time, and they become a real exercise in concentration. Simon Ward has eventually got to the end of this one, and it should be relatively straightforward here to take the frame. It is for Simon Ward, which makes it 1-0 in the crucial fourth set here. It's a set that Simon Ward has to win to stay in the competition, and it's a set he started with the first frame. There we go. That's what we've seen so far in this match.
Yeah, we can see he's even though he's losing the match, he's still potted more balls. I think that's probably due to the first set, where he's won that set 4-0.
And also the interesting thing with set play, total frames won, currently even.
Yeah, exactly. He's 2-1 down, but he's won the same number of frames as his opponent. You can lose the match having won more frames.
1 frame to 0. Time running.
In fact, if it remains close, it's potentially likely if if Mark Boyle was to do so with the whitewash in the first set. Another break from Mark Boyle and another, no it isn't, it's a pot of the yellow, which means he comes back to the table. Remember, he doesn't automatically get assigned the yellows, which is a good job.
He would love to be yellows here, but the reason he wants to be yellows is there's a red and yellow at the bottom end of the table there. That if he goes reds, then that becomes a real problem, because it's so hard to get into that area to develop it, because all the other reds are on the other half of the table. If he goes yellows, he's got no opening ball, so he's in a real. It's a nice big split, but he's got a real problem.
Yeah, it's a shame for him as well, because it's a ricochet right at the end of the break there, which caused the black and the white to be stuck together. So it is reds for Mark Boyle. He really was left with no other option there, particularly.
Yeah, so he's got to find an angle very quickly to get the white travelling. You see where he's pointing his cue now? He's trying to get into that red and yellow as quickly as possible.
And he may even look to hit the yellow with a cue ball. It might even knock the reds either into the pocket or at least close to the pocket.
Yeah, the problem with the shot, so it looks like he's got an angle now to pot the red to the left middle, and he'll go down to send the white down towards that red and yellow. The problem he's going to have is, where's the red going to go if it doesn't go in? And what ball will I be on afterwards? Where's the white going? He could be left with a very simple shot after this, or he could be left with a very tricky shot, or snookered, in fact. He needs a little bit of luck with this to go absolutely to plan.
Big shot this then for Mark Boyle. He goes in behind it. I'm not sure if that was what he was intending.
No, he was trying to catch the yellow. He was just trying to catch the yellow, nudge the red towards the pocket. He was trying to play at a controlled pace so that the red would just nudge over the pocket rather than just flying into it and hoping for luck.
There's a replay of it.
You can see this. If he catches the yellow first, it will just nudge the red over the pocket and leave him on it. But he's missed the yellow and left himself in with a bit of a problem.
Yeah, in a bit of bother here is.
Yeah, he can't see.
Boyle.
He can't see any other red. Can't do anything aggressive with this red. All he could probably do is just feather off this red and leave Simon at the bottom end of the table without a pot on. But eventually he looks like he would lose that safety battle, so he's a bit awkward here. So even though the red's tying the yellow up as well as the yellow tying the red up, because the yellows are nearby, he can use those to open that area up. It's much easier for Simon if he gets a chance than it would have been for Mark.
Yeah, it's just taking a look at it as well. I'm not sure he's got the easiest route up to the top of the table, which is ideally where he'd like to leave the white ball.
Yeah.
Let's just use the ricochet. It's not the worst shot.
He's left Simon a chance, which he'll be frustrated with. If he just avoids that red that he flicked at the top end of the table, he would have covered everything. It would have been a very good shot. You can see now that he just flicks this red at the top. If it slides past that red, then it's perfect for him. But that flick has given Simon a chance on this yellow.
Yeah, the long yellow into the corner, the one that was tied to that red ball by the corner pocket, is now on. And that's what Simon Ward is looking at. Lovely shot. But
yeah, it's not. It's just not perfect position. He would have liked to just cannon that yellow a fraction, with a fraction more pace, just to nudge it on a bit more so that he can see the other one to the bottom of the table.
did he potentially over-hit it? Maybe he wanted to leave himself on the second yellow on that cushion.
I think he wanted to nudge into it because he wanted to develop it that yellow, because it wouldn't have gone past the red. So he wanted to just nudge it, but just a fraction more. He's just dropped it a little bit short. He's still got a yellow to the middle, so if he pots this, everything's there for him. He just needs, if he makes the pot, everything's absolutely fine. That's a great pot, and now he's back in perfect position.
Yeah, lovely shot from Simon Ward. It's a little bit of a happier Simon Ward than the one we saw about a minute ago.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of angle on this one to the bottom right now, past the red, but he's straight enough that he can just bump the white on and off the cushion and play onto the other yellow at the bottom rail, as you see there. And now he'll just try and get the white into the centre area of the table for a choice of both yellows, probably preferring the yellow to the bottom end of the table next, but you could go either way. He's got quite a bit of margin here, anywhere in the middle of the table.
So the option available then for Simon Ward. Mark Boyle had a difficult start to this frame with the way the break went for him.
Yeah, it was one of those breaks where it looks a really good chance, but one problem area wasn't solvable, and he couldn't go the colour set he wanted to be. He was forced into going reds when he wanted to be yellows, and it was too much to handle on this occasion.
A bit of pace in the shot from Simon Ward leaves him a very straightforward black into the centre pocket, which will tie or even put him 2 frames in front in this crucial 4th set. Simon Ward knew coming into it that he had to win this set to stay in the match, and he's done exactly what he would have been planning. First 2 frames have gone his way. This is the live scores from around the tables here in Bradford.
Yeah, we can see Jack William did win that set, so he was 2-0 down. He's come back to 2-1. There's a potential shock there on the cards.
On the bottom of the page as well, Gavin Robinson scrapping for his life to stay in the game against Anthony Halpin. Needs just 1 more frame to get a set back in that one.
Yeah, that's what we see with set play. You can be a frame away from being knocked out and still come back and get back into the match. You can just find a way to win that current set.
Most of them are fairly close. Only Mark Farnsworth is fully in control, you feel.
Leading 2 frames
2 zip up.
Time running.
And level in the 3rd set at 0-0. Here we go, another break for Simon Ward. Miscued his last one. Cue ball gets some hang time there, but
he's come up dry.
He has indeed.
Much better break in terms of the way he wanted to hit it, but no ball this time. So when he mishit it, he made a ball, and when he hasn't, he's come up dry.
And yellows looks like the path here for Mark Boyle, perhaps.
Yeah, he's got. I think he would be looking at reds here, but the red and yellow on the left-hand side near the middle pocket are a problem. The problem with yellows is the red over the bottom pocket. But this little cluster here, if he goes reds, he needs to figure out how to develop that red.
So reds it is.
I think in an ideal world he'd like to be able to stun down off the cushion or directly into this red and yellow now. He looks a little straight on this red, but I think he's got enough angle that he can force it over. So he's just raising the cue to try and punch it in.
Oh, great shot.
Brilliant shot there. So that solved his major problem in this frame. The 2 reds that are nearly touching each other as well, I believe one of them will go into the centre. The top one should go into the centre, or the bottom one might go into the corner once the one over the pocket's gone, or he may need to nudge into them. Looking at that angle, he may still need to nudge into those, but he has got another red next to it, so that's much easier to solve than this previous one that he's just done.
That's a lovely shot though from Mark there, really playing with a lot of confidence at the moment.
Yeah, exactly as played. He wanted to can the yellow rather than a red, just to keep the red over the pocket, nudge the yellow away and stay on it.
And I think the 2 reds that are bunched together, I think the bottom one goes into the pocket, will require a very precise positional shot, but he will have to clear the pocket first in an ideal world.
Yeah, he's taken his time here. He's obviously, I think the problem is those 2 reds that are together. He's just trying to work out how to go about them.
Now into the over the 2-hour mark in this game.
He's trying to move them here in this shot. That's not ideal.
It's a little bit unlucky, you know.
He's okay. I don't know whether he wanted to cannon the black or not, or whether he's just trying to go past them to the reds. But he's still got a shot on. He's a thin cut to the bottom left as we look. And the white will be going into the red again. So it's a very tricky shot to control. Tough pot and position.
Yeah, at least he doesn't have to worry too much about going in off here, I don't think. I think the red will provide him with the requisite safety nets, as it were, but this is the shot that he needs, and he gets it.
That's a very good shot. He controlled it. The pace he played on that was good, because if that red that was travelling across the table goes an extra 2 inches, it will be covered by that yellow. So the fact that he's able to play at a nice controllable pace, now all 3 of his reds go.
Yeah, just held the cue ball up in the middle of the table, which should make this a Mark Boyle frame, his first of this 4th set.
30 seconds.
Yeah, he's still not completely perfect though, because of the way they've come out. They've all popped, but he needs a really good positional shot here. He's going to play onto the plant of red onto red. So there we go, stun across the table. So now he's going to play red onto red, I think. And just the white's going to travel on and off the top cushion as we look. Won't be too far away from it is now. And hopefully the first red he plays will just sit over the pocket. And from there, it should be fairly simple.
So this shot itself is the key to the frame for Mark Boyle. And it just drops. Wasn't as cleanly as he might have liked, but
yeah, I thought for a second that one was going to stay up, but it's okay. It looked like he was just going to wobble and stay up. It's been a very good finish this from Mark, assuming he makes the black. He's a little bit, I say that, I thought he would leave himself much easier on the black. It's slightly awkward from the cushion, but he's had 2 or 3 problem balls to solve and a couple of cannons required, and he's negotiated them really well. So some of the finishes he's had in this match have been fairly routine, and he's made them look easy. This one he had to work for.
Middle pocket's what he's looking at then. And he's on the board in the 4th frame. It's 2-1 to Simon Ward. Mark Boyle remains at match point in terms of sets and gets himself back within range of the Welshman in this set as well. Hustle and bustle of the Cedar Court Hotel, and all of its tables coming through there. We take a look at the match summary so far. It remains 2-1 to Mark Boyle. Simon Ward needs 2 more frames to change that to 2-2 and to take us to a decider. But you just see how close this one has been. We've only played 3 frames in this one, and each one has been around about 10 minutes on average.
Mark Boyle to break.
It's getting tighter and more technical. Mark Boyle will break in this 4th frame of the set. Again, preferring a side break.
Oh.
For the 3rd time in the match, he goes in off. There's a red down.
1 free shot, 1 visit.
But the white is also down, and that's the crucial one.
We've seen that when he's done that twice before, Simon's made no mistake in winning the frame from it. No major problems here. He's got a free shot now to develop balls if he needs to, but in truth he probably doesn't need to. The reds look fairly simple here.
Yeah, disastrous time to do that. A crucial time in the match, at least in the first set. When he did it twice, there was plenty of time left in the match to really alter the situation, but we're really at crunch time here. That's not what Mark Boyle wanted. So pots that red, albeit with a hints of trouble.
Yeah,
he did stay down.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been a problem if it popped out, but sometimes when you play with pace into the centre pockets, they can jump up like that a little bit off the back pocket, but it wouldn't have been a problem because he did have a free shot. So colours still aren't assigned. He still needs to pot a red to be reds. He'll be looking to pot this red to the left centre. He just wants to screw back a couple of inches. He's going to clear the 3 in the centre of the table now. He's over-screwed that by... He's come up probably nearly a foot further than he wanted to there.
It threatened to stay out, that one.
Simon's from a very simple position has now got a slight problem. He wanted to be able to drop this one into the right centre and stay on the one just above the black. He can't do that now. He's got too much angle on this. So he needs to play quite a precise positional shot from this next red.
30 seconds.
He may change his mind and actually play a different red. Yes, he was playing on the red to the right centre.
It's a nice shot. He'll look at the one into the right centre from the bottom of the table, and then probably actually try and end up where he wanted to be the shot before.
Yeah, I think he'll be. Yeah, he just work his way up the table now. Drop this in the centre, drop the other one into the left centre, finish slightly high on the next red, which is where he was trying to get to 2 shots ago for his last one, so that he can just roll through, try and get the white back to roughly where it is now for the black in the left centre. Should be no problems here. The only thing go wrong is him coming up slightly short on his next shot. And that's perfect. It's just a simple drop in now.
Well, Simon Ward is going to be 1 frame away from tying this match up and taking us to a decider. I mentioned at the top of the show, this game was set to be close, and it is looking like it is going to be that way. It's 3 frames to 1 in this 4th set. Simon Ward 1 frame away from taking us all the way in this round 1 match.
Yeah, it's a bit of a seesaw battle, isn't it? It's momentum swinging one way and then another.
It really is. There's the score summary. No. Look at it there. Simon Ward 1 frame away. And he has the break as well.
Yeah, he has the all-important break. He'll want to be getting it done in this next frame, doesn't want it to go tight. If he loses this frame and it goes 3-2, all of a sudden the pressure's on him a little bit more. It could be 3-3 in a deciding frame where if he loses the match, whereas if Mark loses, he goes into a deciding set, so would be more pressure on Simon. So quite important frame for Simon, this one.
Yeah, and worth pointing out as well,
he's made a ball. He's finished a bit awkward.
Yeah, it's not how he would have wanted the white to be left, I don't think, but he's at the table, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, he's. I don't know whether he can pot any of the reds. He's got a yellow down the rail.
Let's take a look at it here. You see the yellow drop at the bottom middle. Look at it there.
See the reds just surround there
to follow in.
Yeah, he may be able to cut a red in. He may be able into the middle. If he goes yellows, it's a big first shot. Yellows are there though. If he makes this yellow, then the finish is on. Great shot.
Dispatch that with ease.
Yeah, made that look very simple. Now he's potted that. All the balls have got a pocket. The red and yellow in the centre of the table may be just a slightly awkward. Just there. That yellow maybe, if it doesn't go past the black to the top right, then it's going to be a slightly tricky ball to get onto, and you may try to move it.
Looking to recover from difficult patch of frames in those middle sets.
I thought when he left the white where he did before that yellow he just played went cleanly into the pocket, but he had to play the plant, and because the yellow he was playing onto was a little bit high on the pocket, that was a very delicate shot, but he's made that look quite simple.
He's had to open this break with a couple of really impressive shots as Simon Ward. And it's an interesting state of affairs in this frame. Remember, Simon just needs this frame to take us into a decider. Did punish Mark Boyle in the last frame for the third time in this match. And Mark went in off the break.
I think that just shows you how important the break is. If you foul on the break, you can almost write the frame off when the players are playing at this level. There's still a little, it's only 3 balls left, they've all got a pocket I believe, but it's still a little bit tricky. This could still go wrong.
It's fiddly, isn't it, when they're all in the same place?
It's a fiddly one. I think the yellow does go past the black to the top right, the yellow in the middle of the table, but it's tight. But he'd leave himself quite a lot of angle on the yellow to the left centre if that is the case, and he would be cannoning reds potentially, so that there's some fiddly bits left in this. It wouldn't surprise me to see him, if he's got the angle to pop this to the left centre, top through, just to nudge the red that's next to the yellow in the middle of the table, just enough to move it away from that yellow. That would be absolutely perfect. Just like that. Very, very good shot.
The only thing he might be struggling with is angle on the black.
Yeah, he's going to have a little bit, so he's going to take the one to the bottom centre as we look now. He's going to have a little bit more angle on, he's got to avoid the reds when playing the next shot.
That's the easy bit. This is the crucial shot. Yellow to black here.
He just wants to avoid the red above it, and then he can come on and off the top cushion. He may decide just to drop this in through the gap. If he's got the angle, he may just decide just to feather past that red and leave himself slightly thinner on the black, where he's pointing his cue now.
This is a shot.
He just needs to avoid that red.
And he knows how important this shot is as well.
I think he's worried about it because if it was simple, he would have already played it.
Precise cueing required.
Yeah, you can see how quickly he was up on that, worried that that was going to feather the red and snooker himself on the black, but no problems.
It's a lovely shot that from Simon Ward. Not the easiest shot on the black, especially when it matters.
All he was doing there was just checking to see, is he in off, because he's quite thin on this black, and he's worried about the white coming off the side cushion and into the left centre. So he's just checking if it's a natural angle or if he can just. Yeah, so he checked and he knew he was going to hit that red. So well controlled shot.
The black goes in and we will go to a deciding set. Mark Boyle and Simon Ward are going the distance in round 1 of the World Championships. To find out where this match ends up. That's next after the break. Well, welcome back. It is crunch time in this match between Mark Boyle and Simon Ward. It is all square. We are heading to a decider, and it's not that difficult to see why it's all square when you take a look at the stats. Simon Ward actually has won more frames, but other than that, it's pretty even.
Yeah, you can see there by the stats that they've won. One's won 1, one's not won. One's won 10, one's won 9. Simon's potted more balls, but it's fairly even across the board there. I think Simon's break's probably working slightly better than Mark's, which is...
That's maybe the key stat, actually. The reverse dishes are favoured quite heavily in Simon's favour. Mark has struggled on the break at times.
Yeah, he's gone in off on the break 3 times and been punished each time, and a couple of dry breaks have been punished as well. So the break will be key in this deciding set. Mark did look like he was getting his break back up and running in that last set, but let him down in the last break.
Well, here we take a look at what's happening around the tables. Mark Farnsworth looks like he's on his way to a win at the top of the page. Very good game developing between Mark Boyle and Simon Ward. As we can see, the 2-2 in the middle there. All the other games fairly close. Andrew Hughes and Jordan Church maybe want to keep an eye on there. 3-3 at 2-1, so crucial frame in that game. The two players shake hands. It's going to be Mark Boyle to break first. I mentioned he's been having his issues so far in this match with the break. Could do without one here. On the white safe. Yeah. And a red just drops in.
He makes a last ball rolling red in. It's not the best finish for him. He's been left slightly awkward, slightly hampered on the first shot. He's only really got one ball to go at. But
it's not an easy shot either.
It's not an easy shot. But it's one he'll take on. If he can pot this yellow, which is very, very tough, to the top left, he will give himself a great chance to win this frame. All the other balls are fairly open. No cannons, no balls that need to be developed. Everything has a pocket, so it's probably all on this shot.
He can just squeeze into the side of the yellow, which does help him out a little bit, and that is pretty safe in the end from Mark Boyle. Has struggled at times along the rail in this match, not on that occasion.
Yeah, I say everything's got a pocket. The only yellow he's got to work out now he's made that pot, is the yellow he was next to. That's now, the black is blocking its natural pocket to the top right. He may decide to play on it as a double. He's got a ball nearest the centre pocket that he can play on this one. But that ball there is the problem now in this finish. But he may be able to use the yellow near the centre pocket to either develop or play onto that ball, or he may decide to play onto it as a double.
Yeah, the black is nicely positioned to pot the black, but doesn't really help him out before that point. It's a tidy shot to give him a couple of options here.
Yeah, I think he wanted a bit more on that. I think he would like to have played onto the yellow onto the right-hand side rail if he comes across the table a fraction more. I think it's just one of those balls he'd rather have got out of the way earlier. It would have been more natural to go up the table from there. So you can see he's gone after that problem ball I talked about, and it's come out absolutely brilliantly for him.
It's a wonderful shot from Mark Boyle, exactly what he was looking for. And that ball that was the problem ball, now no longer. Sits gently over that middle pocket invitingly. Still not a straightforward finish. It's not that kind of frame, but Mark Boyle will be pretty confident here.
He just needs to get the white back out from here. That's slightly awkward. He wanted to slide by that, but it's come out pretty tricky for him. He wanted to be on the yellow to the bottom left as we look now. That was his intention.
He's just snooking on that. He can't see the potting angle, so he'll have to go another way around it.
I think the only ball he can pot from here is the one over the pocket to the top left as we look. Position off that from hampered queuing is going to be very, very tricky. He needs to come up with a shot now. After playing such a great cannon to get himself in perfect position, slight misjudgment has made this very tricky.
Trying to put his right.
It's a brilliant shot.
That's a great shot, yeah. He's gone for the deep screw. He's done really well to get it all the way back there.
From hampered queuing, that was very difficult to get to there. He still would have liked to come up another foot, but at least he's got a shot. That was hard to do from where he was with that hampered queuing.
Yeah, great shot from Mark Boyle.
We may see him now. He's going to. He could pot either ball, but I think he's going to pot the yellow to the right centre and possibly look at coming around 3 cushions for the yellow to the bottom right. He could take the yellow to the bottom right now and try and screw the white up to somewhere where it is now, but that'd be a much harder shot.
Yeah, the right centre is the option for Mark Boyle. Just gets to use the run of the cue ball.
So he's decided to go 2 cushions. I thought he was thinner and he would go 3, but he's left himself a very tricky shot. It's exactly where he played for it. This is as good as he could get onto it from where he was. But this is tough.
Play it slow either, because he needs to get enough off the cushion to leave himself on the black. He wouldn't like to try and squeeze through the reds that sit at the bottom of the screen as we look at it. He want it somewhere near the middle of the table. This is the key to this frame. In the final set, needless to say, every frame takes on so much importance. Neither of these players want to go out in the first rounds with the quality that they both possess.
Brilliant shot, fantastic.
Beautifully done.
Yeah, he's finished on the cushion, making queuing slightly awkward, but he'll be absolutely thrilled. No mistakes with this black.
Yeah, he's done the hard bit. Now it's the simple stuff. And in it goes. So the advantage is with Mark Boyle, who really had to work hard there from that break. The balls never really quite made themselves very presentable to him.
No, he played 2 or 3 great shots to develop the frame, and then a slightly missed positional shot made it awkward again, and he's had to pull out 3 great shots on the trot to get the frame won.
But that is the crucial advantage to the Scotsman in this first frame of the final set, and he'd have been a little bit nervous, no doubt, heading into it with the issues that he's had with his break.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have wanted to cede the first frame of the deciding set, especially.
Yeah, and he has he won the lag, so he gets to break first in this set, and if it goes to a deciding frame, he'll be breaking. It looks like he might be getting his break going at the right time.
Simon Ward, as ever, preferring the straight break. Right down the heart of the table. That ball nearly hit the light. It went so high up in the air.
Time on that break. He's come up dry.
I think our camera lens was in a little bit of danger for a second there. Ball went high in the sky. As you mentioned, most importantly, isn't the height of the cue ball, it's the fact that no other balls went down into the pockets, which just gives that little opening to Mark Boyle here.
Yeah, he's got choices here. Reds aren't too bad. He's got a simple red to the left centre to get himself going, and every red's got a pocket. But yellows are also not too bad, but the first shot's tricky for yellows because he needs to play the plant, which he has done nicely, but slightly tricky still because the yellow has gone further forward than he wanted, and he's now going to be cannoning the reds when he pops this next yellow over the top, up to the top left. So the positional element of this next shot is tricky. Very easy for this next positional shot to go wrong.
Potentially may look at other options as well. He has got a long yellow to take on.
Yeah, I think he'll give that some thought because he's guaranteed to cannon into that red, and that red will become a blocker, and that white's going to get stuck at the top of the table.
Extension.
It's never easy. That yellow stops an inch short of where it is now. He'd have no problems getting the white down the table.
Might be a problem that Mark Boyle just puts off until the end. That yellow is fairly possible from quite a few angles on the table.
Yeah, if he does, it's a very tricky pot if he goes the other way, and he is going to. He needs to cue this one really, really well. So I think he can see the gap to the one over the pocket. A surprising miss.
Yeah, I think you can tell by the grimace that it was an attempt at the pot. It wasn't particularly close. It didn't rattle in the jaws. It almost had the air of a safety. It missed by that much.
I tell you, I think he must have been a missed safety, or a safety, sorry, because actually he couldn't have missed that pot by so far. So we're doing him a disservice by saying he missed that pot.
Either way, he didn't look particularly pleased with the outcome. I think that's safe to say.
That's why I thought it might be a missed pot rather than a safety.
There's Simon Ward back at the table. Just takes the red along down the cushion. Not quite. It's a little unlucky. And the balls have run interestingly hit.
Yeah, he's happy with that. Simon, he's managed to take take that top pocket, and it's the red's gone to the side of the pocket, taking away some skill shot opportunities for Mark.
If it was on the other side of the pocket, Mark would be looking to play the yellow and the red both in and be pretty fine with that, but can't jam that through that gap.
Yeah, it's definitely advantage Simon at the moment.
Or can he?
30 seconds.
It looks like he might be able to try. It looks like he's trying to squeeze it into the pocket and the red at the same. So squeeze it in through past the red and the jaw. It looks a little tight for me. This.
No, it doesn't squeeze in.
He's happy with that though. He was playing the white down to the bottom part of the table again, the safety zone as it is for him, and he's developed the yellow at the same time. So that's probably not far off what he's played there. And if he doesn't get that little cannon on the yellow at the bottom of the table, he's probably got a snooker as well. That was a very well played shot. But he still left Simon a chance. It's tough, but he's left him a long pot.
It is a very tough shot, and it will take.
I think it's one of those.
Bottle going for it.
I think it's one of those. If you make it, you win the frame, and it's worth it. Oh, complete miscue.
Well, that's just what Simon Ward did not want in that scenario. Total miscue off the cushion. I do mention sometimes that cushion can cause awkward cueing. It's rare that we see a miscue of that sort of volume though. Horrible moment, and it sets Mark up quite nicely because he can move the ball into the top area of the table and just get that yellow out of the way and move himself down to the rest.
Yeah, sort of. Simon will have already written this frame off. He will believe that Mark will make no mistake in winning this frame from here. He has no problems, nothing to develop, nothing to move.
And it should be a 2-frame advantage here for Mark Boyle in the deciding set, with himself to break in the next frame. That could be a really, really important miscue.
This is the only shot for Mark that can go wrong. It's I don't expect him to miss it, but it can be missed. You've got to make sure of these. Great shot.
Yeah, tightly done from Mark Boyle. As mentioned a couple of times, he has struggled on a few occasions down the rail, in particular in this match so far. No such luck for Simon Ward on that occasion, and Mark Boyle is on his way here to a 2-frame lead in the deciding set with his break to come. Simple cleanup. And there it goes. Well, well, well. Simon Ward is not quite but nearly staring down the barrel of a first round exit here.
Yeah, he's 2 frames away. Still looking at his tip after that miscue. Hopefully he hasn't damaged it.
Boyle will certainly be the happier. The fact he gets to break here is a big advantage. If he can hold his break, he'll win the match.
3rd frame.
Yes.
The break has been the issue for him.
2 frames to 0. Time running.
Yeah, he's got a couple more breaks if he needs them. He won't want them. He want to get them done as quickly as possible.
It's in the Scotsman's hands.
He's made a balls, nice break.
Now this is an interesting setup. It's a good break in the sense of he's at the table and there's balls down. But if we take a look at the table setup here, it is.
Yeah, he's got some problems. Yeah, there's a big cluster of problem balls. These yellows and reds here causing all the problems. They're all blocking each other. The yellow at the top of that circle there can be used to, you could pop that and go into them from the correct angle, but he's not there now. So that might make him go yellows. If he goes reds, there really is so hard to get into that area. So if the yellow may go through the gap of the two reds to the top right.
I want to see it there, just in the middle of the table as we look at it there. The yellow.
Yeah, I think he can take that yellow between the two reds to get himself yellow, and then he can come down the table to try and get a good angle on the yellow that he's just bridging over now to go into the cluster. And we see a miscue from Mark.
Goodness gracious me. Well,
I think he was trying to deep screw back into that cluster from that shot itself.
I certainly don't think that he was meaning to chip it. No, it's not a foul, because the yellow that he hit did eventually come into the cushion. That's a truly bizarre shot in the end.
It is actually a foul. You can't jump over the ball that you're playing. So Simon will get an opportunity to open this frame up. This could swing the match around again.
Well, what's the time to have that kind of miscue? It's going, as you mentioned, for a deep screw shot. Does mean that you have to play the bottom of the ball with a lot of pace and power.
So Simon's going to try and open that cluster up now, and hopefully give himself a good opportunity. He still ideally wants to be yellows, and that's come out very, very well for him. It would be even better if the yellow goes past the red to the top left as we look now. That would make things even easier. It looks a little tight, but he can always pop the one over the pocket if not.
He's taking it on.
Yeah.
And there it goes. And all of a sudden, just like we saw in the last frame, a miscue really has opened this up.
Yeah, we may not see a miscue for the rest of the tournament. We've seen 2 in 2 frames. So Simon he probably wants to play. He's going to play the plant now. He wants to stay on the ball that he's going to be playing now, and then he can come up the table after these two. He'll be looking to get the white back to almost where it is now off the very next shot. So take the one to the bottom left as we look. Screw back off the cushion back to where he is now. And that will give him a perfect angle to get up to the two at the top of the table. And that looks fairly perfect. The yellow does go through the gap of the reds. We saw that at the beginning of the frame because Mark was trying to pop that yellow through that gap when he miscued. Maybe a fraction straight on this, leaving himself a bit thin on the last yellow. He would still have a shot at it. Oh no, he's got the perfect. That's absolutely perfect. So simple from here.
And a crucial frame to get back on the board here for Simon Ward. Looked like Mark Boyle was in prime position.
Frame.
Similar to the last frame, a miscue changed the course of it. And Simon Ward this time is the beneficiary. And it's 2-1 in the decider with Simon Ward to break next. And all of a sudden, it is back in the balance.
We see the miscue now. This is Simon's miscue. Straight over the top of the ball.
He's done well to bounce back from that, just to clear that out of his head and just get back to it.
Yeah, you can see there Mark was trying to screw back and get cushion into that cluster. And chipped it over, so 2 miscues, 2 fouls have cost the frames.
Well, as you said,
Simon
we
Ward
might want to go the rest of the tournament without seeing a similar miscue.
No, we might not see another one on the telly at all the rest of the week.
So, Ward to break.
A big break.
And he looks like he might be coming up rosy here.
Yeah, he's given himself a nice opportunity. He's got one little problem area.
Red went down in the top right there as we look at it.
Yeah, yellows look fairly handsome here. Just the yellow above the black, but because there's yellows nearby, it's so controllable to clear that yellow out. He may even be able to play on that yellow to the right centre if it's far enough high of the black. Oh, he's overhit the first shot. He'll be okay because he can come back down the table, but he was trying to stay on that yellow to the top of the table.
Yeah, a little grimace of annoyance there from Simon, but I don't think he'll be too fussed about it. A couple of easy balls at the bottom left as we look at it.
Yeah, it's not what he wanted, but he'll regroup and find another way. Still not a problem.
Fires that one in.
It's still all about that yellow and black together. I think he's overhit that shot as well. I think he was probably playing on the one to the bottom left to be able to develop that yellow by the black as soon as possible. That's normally the way. They want to get straight after the problem area. The longer you leave it, the more chance you have of it going wrong. Still don't anticipate it being a problem. Take the one to the bottom right now. Try and leave himself the one to the top left as we look now. And that will allow him to go into the black and yellow. No, for me, he's going up top first.
Importantly, he's given himself the angle to get back down as well.
Yeah.
Actually, perhaps a more difficult shot than it looked, that one.
Yeah, well, he saw before when it was simple to get on the one at the top that the red at the top blocked him from being able to pot it. So made it as easy as possible for himself now to get back down to the area he needs to be in. I think just looking at that overhead, that yellow next to the black goes into the right centre. So he can just drop this in and play on that if that's the case. And that would leave it fairly simple. It looks like it just slides past the yellow in the middle of the table.
He's got just enough angle as well here to leave himself just behind it. Even perfect.
Yeah, just wondering if that yellow will slide past the other yellow into the centre, save him having to move the black and yellow. Because if you're moving the balls with a cannon, then they can go wrong. If he doesn't need to, he won't want to.
That's what he's taking a look at now. Is he even looking at the cut there?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think he's maybe slightly worried about the angle he's left to get onto it, or he maybe, no, I don't know. He looks like he is going to play into the two, just the way he's lining that up. So if he does play into it, he'll be coming off the side cushion and then into the black and yellow. Oh, you can see on this camera angle it's quite tight into the middle, so he's considering moving it. Because if he didn't get right behind that, that's very missable. He was playing on it into the bottom right, and he's come too far.
He's a long way too far.
He can still pot it, but it's very, very tricky from where he's left it.
This is by no means an easy shot. See there, the angle doesn't really go into the middle, so he's had to reroute. It's across the other side. Oh, it's brilliant. Wowee. Well, he made it difficult for himself. He wanted that to be far easier shot. Little shake of the head.
Yeah, he's very, very thin on this yellow. It's an unbelievably good pot, and the control he had on that to kill the white off the cushion. Had a lot of side on that to kill the white, but it's still run too far. Now he's got the thin cut, and he's going to fly into the black here. He's a great pot.
And it's worked out really, really well for him.
He's still got problems though. That's a hampered queuing in a very difficult black. He's happy that he's got a shot at it. He knew he was getting the black moving there. There was a chance he could plot yellow and black at the same time, which is a legal shot.
Well, this is the frame. He's queuing over that red. He's eyeing at the black. Top right pocket, 2-1. Gets
Great
it.
shot. Just see a little sign of emotion there from Simon. You very, very rarely see anything from him, but just a little something there. He knows how important that frame was.
Absolutely crucial. Keeps himself very much in this competition. Gives him a great chance now of turning this final set around. Where do you see this one coming from here? It's so difficult to call.
Yeah, I think we're headed for a deciding frame. All the way. If it does go to a deciding frame, Mark would be marginal favourite as he has the break. You'd always favour the player with the break.
A little interaction between the two players there, which made Mark give a little smile. And that's it's an interesting break from Mark.
He's let him down.
He's had his issues with the break throughout this match, and one hasn't quite dropped. He very nearly forced a re-rack with the black going in, which he probably would have appreciated.
Yeah, he would. When nothing else goes down, you want that black to fly in so you get to try again. So Simon can go a couple of different ways here. He can, the two yellows to the bottom of the table do plant into the bottom left, so they're not a problem. So the yellows probably all go maybe a little bit congested at the top, so we may decide to go reds, but reds are a little bit congested, but they all go as well, so personal preference.
This is the most difficult red as well, the one along the rail.
Yeah.
He's able to take this out early. He's in a very good position. Take a look at the numbers on the screen. 2 sets apiece, 2 frames apiece. First of 4 will go through to round 2.
If this goes in, he'll give himself a very good chance to get to 3 frames.
There it goes.
It sounds odd to say that the red just below the middle pocket is potentially a problem because it's at the he needs to get to the bottom end of the table at some point. He could end up with a bad angle and it could become a problem. He's on the one to the centre now, fairly straight, and he can play onto the one to the top afterwards.
30 seconds.
It's one of those finishes where it's all a little bit congested, but everything goes.
Which requires good positional play, no mistakes. It's there for Simon Ward. He just has to execute.
Yeah, I do think that red at the bottom end of the table, even though it's just below the centre pocket, may become a problem. It looks like if he drops this in, he can still play on the one to the top right as we look, and that natural position to the one he's nearest to into the middle that he's about to play this one into. But he's got to have a good angle to be able to get down to the red at the bottom of the table. Of course, the black's no problem. I think that's why he's played that one with so much pace rather than just dropping it in. Still not perfect. I think he might look to take the red in the middle of the table down to the bottom right now, if he's straight enough on it to hold.
He could even look at the middle red into the
30 seconds.
centre pocket, which may give him a route down the bottom of the table.
Yeah, he's just got to be, if he catches if he does play that one to the right centre now and catches the yellow too thick, that he'll be snookered on both reds. It's a very delicate shot. He's just awkward on both the balls he can pop.
He's usually using every second of his allotted time here to think about it. It is the one into the centre. He's not snookered, but he's not ideal.
I think he'll be happy with that as long as he can avoid. So he can pop the red to the top left as long as he can avoid the yellow on the on the top rail now, and he can. We see this camera angle. He can avoid that quite comfortably. This is a fairly natural angle now. We'll just come around two rails into the middle of the table, just below the centre of the table. Shouldn't be any problems here. Yeah, no problem at all. He worked that previous shot out really well. He knew he was cannoning that yellow full, but was able to push through it to make sure it went forward enough just to leave him the shot he's just had. It was a lot better shot than it looked.
So 2 balls over the pocket here as Simon Ward to go to match point. Queuing won't be the easiest for the last one. He should be fine. Surely.
Yeah, he's
got to this stage.
He's just worried about the in-off. He's quite thin on this. He's worried that he just wants to make sure White's not going too far close to the left centre pocket, because he's got awkward queuing, so he can't get too much spin on it.
And it is there. White's not going to go far enough. And it's 3-2 to the Welshman. He's 1 away from round 2. We'll see a maximum 3 more frames. Mark Boyle has to win 2 of them.
And it's Simon's break now. His break's been okay in this match. He's had a couple of really big breaks and a number of great finishes. So he'll be thinking, if I can make a ball, I can win it here and now.
There we see the game summary. Take a look at that 4th set, 4-1, but 43 minutes.
Yeah, some very tactical battles in that set.
Break, leading 3 frames to 2. Time running.
Just from looking at that, you'd suggest the momentum was with Simon, but in reality, it's really anyone's in this final set.
Oh, he's jumped the White straight off the table. This could be another swing.
What a time to do that. 2 reds have gone down, I think, as well. Let's have a little look here. You see the White fly away.
It's an absolute disaster for Simon. Because of the nature of this game, when there's so many finishes off the break, that could be his last shot in this match. This is a great chance for Mark to take it to a decider where he'll get the break.
Just taking a look at his options here. Here's the angle of the break again. Away it flies. And you just see the grimace there on Simon's face. He knows.
Yeah, he knows how much of a disaster that could be. It's a nice big open table for Mark as well. No major problems, no clusters.
Still hasn't quite decided where he wants to put this.
No, so he's got a free shot to develop any balls that he thinks are awkward or an area that he thinks are tricky. But in truth, there was no clusters, no problems for him to really develop.
Interesting, you've gone for the yellows as well, with 3 more balls to pot.
Yeah, I think it's
or is he going to take the reds?
He can still take reds. I think his choice is still going to be yellows.
Yeah, I just thought he was setting that yellow up into the pocket, but
I think he was trying to be a little bit straighter on his previous, a little bit harder on his previous shot to leave that shot straighter. I was going to say he didn't want that cannon, but it's actually come out perfectly. He can drop this yellow into the left centre, stay on the other yellow to the right centre. That cannon could have gone wrong. He wasn't trying to catch that yellow. Oh, that's gone wrong as well.
The only thing that might save him is, can he see that bottom yellow and the potting angle?
I don't think so. I think his reaction tells us that he has made a mistake here.
Well, from what seemed to be the simplest of positions, Mark Boyle has made something of a meal of this. Can he see that bottom one? Doesn't like it.
30 seconds.
Yeah, you could see he was looking at potentially swerving around the red to try and pot that yellow. And now he's looking at coming off the cushion to pop this yellow into the right centre.
What a time it'd be to make this shot.
Brilliant shot. What a brilliant shot.
Well, there's ways to get yourself out of trouble, go. That is brilliant from Boyle.
Yeah, put the disappointment of the poor positional shot out of his mind and has come up with an absolute gem to give himself a chance in this frame now.
It should be routine from here. It should have been routine from the start, but he forced himself into pulling out one from his box of tricks. It's just dropped. It so nearly didn't.
And if he misses that shot there, he'll be thinking he loses the match. He would have left Simon a very, very good chance for the match had that not fallen in. So just adds to the shot. Doesn't really want to be straight on this yellow. Looks like he's got enough angle to get the white back out. If he's straight, there's not much he can do, but if he's got angle, he can punch back out, get on the yellow to the top left.
All seems well for Mark Boyle now. Just about to tick over to the 3-hour mark in this game. What an enthralling, engrossing match it's been. Mark Boyle wants this black to tie things back. And it's there in the heart of the pocket. Well, 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 what a game we have seen. We go all the way. The full distance.
All the way to a decider.
Well, there we go, with one more frame to go. Those are the stats.
Simon still won more frames and potted more balls. But importantly, it's all square.
Take a look at the stuff like the fouls and missed pots, completely even.
It's that dry break and balls potted from the break that is important now. Mark has the break in this deciding frame.
Mark Boyle's break. Time running.
He's had some issues with the break through the match.
He's gone in off with the white 3 times. A 4th would be disaster for the Scotsman. We've played 3 hours. We are going to have one more frame. How's the break? 1 down. White safe.
He's come up. He's okay. He's happy. Simon stands up to take a good look to see how this layout is.
And of course, the Welshman might not get a chance to stand up.
He really wants to be yellows because there's a bad red on the table, but he can't put a yellow from where he is now. He may be forced into reds, but which would mean he has 1 bad red on the bottom rail.
Seconds.
This red here, if he goes reds, would be his biggest problem, but he may be able to go into it straight away by putting the red to the top left as we look.
Extension.
The problem with that shot, if he does, is he could end up on nothing. If he cannons the red, he could end up behind the yellows, the red could come out. It's not guaranteed to go well. I'm just wondering whether he can play the yellow onto the yellow as a plant. Looks tight past the others.
Well, that was my first instinct as well.
No, he is going to. It looks like he is going to play this rail. I think he's going to try and cannon the red on the right side rail now.
Big shot.
And it's not gone well. I say it's not gone well. That's an absolutely brilliant touch of luck for Mark, because he's potted the red. He's fluked to yellow as well. He now has the choice. It's still an open table.
And all of a sudden those yellows look far more inviting.
And all of a sudden the yellows look very good, yes. Just that one yellow at the top of the table that would need to be got on.
Oh, I mentioned he was looking for a plant. I don't think that was the one he was looking for.
That was an incredible piece of luck for Mark. if that yellow sits over the pocket or doesn't go in, then he's in a bit of a problem. Reds would be very tricky from the layout, but the fact that he can now change and go to yellows is huge. It's just going to be this yellow here is going to be the key. It's how he gets on that yellow will be the key to whether he can make this clearance. It's the trickiest ball left.
Clearance would take him into round 2 of the World Championships at the expense of Simon Ward, who is the seeded player, who had the unluckiness of the draw, really, to draw Mark Boyle, that very, very talented qualifier.
You can just see where he's looking now. That yellow is awkward to get on. That red below it is a bit of a blocker. It really is. It's not easy to get a good position on that.
30 seconds.
It looks like he wants to play on it now rather than leave it till his last ball. Because he could try and play on it now. If he doesn't get on it, he would still have the other yellow. So it sort of give him two chances to get on it. And that's as good as he could get on it. That's exactly where he wanted it.
It's a lovely shot. And all of a sudden, round 2 looks that little bit closer for Mark.
He needs to. He's going to be. Looks like he's going to be just cannoning those 2 reds. So he just needs to control the white off those 2 reds. The yellow in the middle of the table does go into the centre or the corner or either corner, so he's got options. It's just how he controls. If he can just avoid the reds, then he might be able to stay on it quite comfortably. Oh, there's a twist.
Oh, well, well, well. A wry smile from Mark Boyle. Might that be his final visit to the table? Simon Ward thought he'd already had his. He dare not dream of another opportunity. But yet, here it is. Here's the shot again. Just overcut it.
I think he was just distracted by making sure he got that 4-ball cannon to control the white. Just took his eye off the pot. Simon does have a problem red on the rail on the right-hand side. If he gets behind that, it's going to be a tricky pot. I don't think he's going to try and move it. I think he will play on it. I think he could leave it till his second last ball. So if he could clear the 3 furthest up the table now and then get onto the red on the side rail, and he'll just have to drop it in down the rail and he'll have a red to the left centre, which will give him natural shape onto the black. I think that's what he'll be looking at. He may decide to move it, but I'd be surprised.
Simple stand shot for that one. The 2 in the middle take care of themselves in many ways. Here's that red that Simon mentioned, just on the right-hand cushion, which is not easy. He's just got a long, long way to go down the cushion.
He's got a lovely angle to get onto the one down the rail now, but he probably wanted to leave it till his... wanted to get rid of both of the ones at the top of the table first. And it's slightly awkward to do that from here. I'm not sure exactly what he's played for here. I think...
He perhaps overplayed the one on the rail?
No, he has played for the one down the rail. It's just given himself... this frame's all about this pot. He doesn't have to do anything with the white. The natural position is just to come on and off, leave himself the one over the centre. It's a great shot. Great shot.
And Simon Ward now, being on the brink, is now returning to potentially move himself through into the second round of these World Championships. Crucial pot into that corner pocket. And these now should be routine.
Yeah, that shot needed to be controlled nicely as well. I think that's why I thought he would want to get rid of the red to the top before that and leave the red he's just played as his last ball, but he's played that positional shot nicely, so he just needs to come back for the black now.
2 balls away from round 2. Just the black remains. In any other scenario, this would be a walk in the park, but with round 2 at stake, it might not be as easy as Simon Ward made that look. He has done it. What an epic to start us off here at these 2018 IPA World Championships. And Simon Ward, well might he wipe his brow. That was a Herculean effort to get through that one. What a game.
Fantastic game. Simon showed a lot of bottle there to find that finish and to hang in at times, but pulled out the finish when he needed at the end there.
Now we see the final match stats. It's Simon Ward who will advance to round number 2. After a great start, Mark Boyle roared back. Simon Ward took the last 2 sets, which took us an hour and a half alone to get through. What an epic to kick us off on Free Sports. We'll be having the second game of our coverage coming up for you very, very shortly. It will take some to top that one. It's coming up next. Welcome back to the coverage of the IPA World Championships here in Bradford. Delighted to say now joined by the winner of our last game, Simon Ward. Simon, first of all, what an epic. What are your emotions coming straight out of that one?
Oh, it was a really tough game. It seemed to go on forever. I sort of lost my way a bit in the middle of the match, but I managed to pull it back, and then I felt really good then towards the end, but luckily I had a shot in the deciding frame.
And I was just about to say that deciding frame, it was entirely possible you might not have been able to have a say in it. Were you expecting to get a shot?
Not really. After Mark fluked the ball in the very first shot, I was thinking this is probably going to be it, but he started to play a great shot to win the match, and luckily for me he missed it.
And it was such a tactical nature. Those last 2 sets in particular got very, not bogged down, but very, very tactical and very technical, changed the pace entirely. Do you think that suited you in the end?
Not usually, no, but I sort of felt stronger in the last 2 sets, which is probably why I won them, to be honest. So, as I say, the next 2 sets were sort of starting to get away from me a bit, so maybe I needed a slower set to get back into the match.
And it was a difficult draw for yourself. Mark being a qualifier, about the most difficult draw you could have got. How much confidence does that give you heading on to the rest of the tournament now to get that win under your belt?
Yeah, it gives me a lot. I mean, the last couple of years I've come here in good form, and I've drawn a really top amateur in the very first round, as one of the top seeds I'm expecting a half-decent draw. And the last couple of years I've ended up losing to that amateur. Now, luckily this year I managed to get over the line, so hopefully now I can go all the way.
Well, big congratulations on the win. Can present you now with your prize for the win, courtesy of our friends at Leeds Brewery. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Cheers.